happen, but I know that how mothers can treat children sometimes. When it happens, there's something I need there. When it's there, something I need, they can read. How did she call you? How did she call you?
She was like my twin sister. Have you seen my mom?
No.
Okay. When you see her, you see me.
And how people told me.
Yeah.
How did she call you?
She used to call me Babu. Yeah, that's my nickname.
Did she call you something I need when she dealt with you? And another name when she happened, but I know that how mothers can treat children sometimes. When it happens, there's something I need there. When it's there, something I need, they can release.
Clarence, my mother was just like me. My mother was a strong and focused woman. Very, very strong like me. When I say strong, very troublesome like me.
Really?
Yeah. I brought my mother. I'm not different from her.
You brought your mother. Is there any of your siblings who are like you? If you use, using all your words, troublesome, high-headed, is there any of your siblings who are like you?
In terms of being very stubborn, I said no. But the person I'm next to when you see him, he's a pastor.
The person you next, your older brother, is a pastor.
Yeah, when you see him, telling me, in terms of the look.
Do you listen to him?
No.
Interesting discussion. That's why I want you to come soon. Interesting discussion. So your older brother is a pastor.
Yeah.
Is he in this town?
Yeah, he's here.
Do you listen to him?
Well, in terms of what?
Maybe
in terms of politics,
maybe politics. Sometimes he interferes.
In terms of politics, no. The only person I listen to when it comes to politics, I listen to my wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we know your pastor. That where the people be going for now.
Yeah.
To talk to you, talk to you. But do you sometimes interact with your pastor brother? You visit his church, you go around him?
Well, I think I visited his church 1 or 2 times. Yeah.
All right. That's okay. That's okay. Do you have a sister too?
Yeah, I have a lot of sisters from father. And I have 2 sisters from mother.
For your mom's side, you were what, first born?
No, I was the last.
Oh, I see why you your mom, your twin. Okay, I see. That's okay. Yeah. How is the district, by the way?
The district is okay, Clarence. District number 10 is okay. You know, I
was just reading the proclamation that you people are coming back. So you're starting section again today?
Yes. Okay. From here, I'm going to work.
Okay. So generally, during the period of your break, what were you doing in your district? I know you have a few days you're resting.
Well, Clarence, you see, you have to be very careful when it comes to dealing with your people. Like I said, since Mr. Bwaka took the presidency, I have not received anything of the government fund. So you see, the people thinking will be, oh yeah, but the man got the money, why he doing the little thing? So that will only identify with people when they got issue, when there's a situation. But to go and start doing project with my salary, no, I don't want to do it because the people say, but the man not getting money, where are you taking the money from? They're not giving money, but you know how we talk now. Not in any kind of way. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the poor district number 10. But the man say he's not getting money for development fund. Where is he getting money from to do this? So now that it's clear, the list boss came on your radio. The evidence is there that I have not received a dime for district number 10. So maybe going forward, I will start doing something. When the poor I the money, I say no, there's a recalling. That's my point. I wanted the list boss to be on record, to say Yeke have not received money. And Clarence, your witness. You are living witness. He came and said, I didn't go through the process. But the process is a process, Clarence. Clarence, we cannot be in your class where the Supreme Court have not recognized Mr. Kun as Speaker. I will do a letter to Mr. Kun.
We'll come there. How is your movement? How is it called? You got one movement.
The National Movement to Liberate Liberia from Criminals and Crooks. I may declare my intention maybe May this year or maybe May next year. I
declare your intention for what?
For the presidency. I will be called political leader if I declare.
So on this show this morning, can we say it's not clear that Yeke is not contesting in District 10?
No, I didn't say so. I say I may. I didn't go to school, so when I speak English, I like to be very mindful.
I didn't say you say so. I don't want you to put it record straight.
No. I may declare my intention. If I declare my intention, obviously I will not be running to be represented.
How is the movement? I don't see other people. I want to see you with the movement pick up and stuff like those.
Parents, you have to be very careful with what you want to do. Because if you want to achieve certain things, you are the vision bearer. So you have to be very careful. I don't want to when I leave the country, the movement becomes silent. Why become silent? Because Clarence, these cars will pay money for them. Some of us are very reckless. You take the car, give it to Clarence. Clarence, yeah, you know, be promoting the movement that come. I'm not saying everybody. You understand what I'm saying? Clarence will take the pickup, start holding coal inside. It's all that movement car. And the in will be abused. And that is what I don't want.
But you're supposed to have a leadership, yeah.
Well,
you can't only be in the movement function when you in the culture when you can no movement.
Clarence, when I declare my intention, there will be a leadership for the group. But for now,
are you really serious? You want to be president of Liberia?
Why I can't be president of Liberia? I'm not competent. I'm not capable. I'm consistent. I'm in the interest of the people.
You
I'm not like you, Clarence.
Okay, sir.
When you bring one political leader and make him president, every wrong thing that happening will be right in the eyes of you.
Okay.
And in the eyes of the Lebron people may be wrong. But because it is your government, because you are enjoying, because you are in the court, so everything is right. I'm not that Clarence.
Okay.
I believe
you became a representative in 2017.
Yeah, 2017.
Is there anything you've done for the people in district 10 that they can hold to the chest and say, even if the day Yeke declares his intention, he's no longer a representative, these are the things Yeke did for us?
My consistency to the people of the country. It's not what you do. It's about people trusting you. Can people trust Clarence when it comes to being consistent? Or Clarence can be moved to more money when he gave him 2,000 US? Consistency matters. It's not about how much job you have done. It's about how well people can appreciate you for being consistent for the Liberian people. I'm not only representative of district number 10. I'm representative for the Liberian people. And Clarence, I want to throw this to you as a challenge. I'm the only representative that will go to any country the people come out because of my consistency. People thought I was against former President. I was not against him. I was not against him as an individual. I was against the policy and the manner and form in which the country was being run.
Now, you went throughout the length and breadth of this country and campaigned for Joseph Boakai. I remember in the night you were in Riverside. You were all over the place. Boakai would become president, and Yeke would, in quote unquote, in other people's words, continue to engage the government in a form that they didn't think you would do. What has changed?
Karen, nothing has changed. I'm still the Yeke, you know, and I will be the Yeke forever until I leave the stage of politics, until I leave the earth. Clarence, let me say to you.
You want to put a mouse more so you can.
Clarence, let me say to you. You see, the old thing in your girl.
No, that thing is brand new. It's brand new. That thing is brand new.
I take it back.
Go ahead.
I take it back.
Go ahead.
Clarence, on a serious note, you see, people take politics to be, let me go and job. Clarence, I could be in the kitchen room of the kitchen of Honorable Boakai right now, you know, where I will say something and he won't tell me no. Where I will have my company, you know, give me a contract that will not show anything in our job. Is this what we brought? Is this what we change government for? I said, no, Clarence. We change the government for the Liberian people to live a better life. We didn't change this government for them to bring a machine, yellow machine that will be liability on the people. You pay 30-something thousand for yellow machine, and you want 50-something thousand every year to maintain the machine. What are we heading to? The machine has become a liability. In my mind, we should retain no machines, revamp JFK, go to Phoebe Hospital. Look at our mothers and sisters. Some of our promises to the Liberian people was our children, our little sister will not sell between no cars. Are we happy? I said no. We said we will do a lot of things for the people. The midwives, we will increase their salary. Have we done that? I said no. In my mind, I brought this government, we have failed the Liberian people. Prove me wrong.
Have you been able to sit with the president sometimes and listen to him since he became president to say maybe, Uncle or Mr. President, why have you changed? So, you said you would have done X, Y, and Z. What's going on? People are complaining.
So Clarence, the first time I made an attempt through some people for me to go see Mr. Boakai, it was interpreted differently. The next thing I heard on the radio was on Zoom. Oh, Yeke went to build Joseph Boakai. My sister called me and said, you listening to this phone? I said, no. So I put my phone on. Stay on the radio. Yeke going to build Joseph Boakai. Yeke going to kneel down to Joseph Boakai. I said, oh, is that how it look like? And I went with somebody that worked in the government because I refused to go there. Because I knew at the point, at this point, Mr. Boakai have taken office, there will be a lot of people that feel the too entitled to, the too much into Mr. Boakai than us that took the race. So I didn't go there alone. It was somebody that worked in this government that convinced me to go there. And somebody that worked in the government I said no. So when God there, I said, oh, is this a situation? I said it in the waiting room. You can sitting in waiting room waiting for Mr. Walker. Can you imagine? And Mr. Walker was never in meeting. But you can sitting in living room.
But he's president, so now you got wait for the
boss man, give me a chance.
You got wait for the president.
No, boss man, give me a chance. There are certain people, Clarence, when they come to this door, even when you're on the radio, you say, let the president come sit. When I finish with my show, I will talk to them. Clarence, that is why they call reciprocate. You giving back to the person in return what the person gave you. You understand what I'm saying? But there was no respect to me. There was no respect to me. So you know I told the ADK, I said, go and tell that man. He will feed me. And I was referring to Mr. Wakai. When I left from there, they felt it. You think I can't talk?
What was the invitation about?
Well, the invitation was, you know, when Mr. Wakai took power, when he gave that 50,000 to the poor of Totota, you know, in which we knew that Mr. Wakai told the Lebrenpo that he was living unknown. You are not taking office. In the code of conduct, it's very clear. They say any elected official that will receive anything more than 200 US must declare to the Lebrenpo in 7 days what's the source of that money. But Mr. Wakai, I told Mr. Wakai, I said, you need to tell the Lebrenpo where you took the 50,000 from. Then where the problems are coming from.
And I'm sure the provision is meant to say that when you are already working as an elected official,
no,
I'm talking about president-elect.
No, I challenge you. They said any elected official, there was nothing added to it to say you must be inaugurated. They don't say inaugurated.
So the law got intent.
Bossman, until that intent can be interpreted by the Supreme Court, I go by what the law says. Sorry, I'm not educated. I mean, I'm speaking the right English. You can correct me at any time. Until that intent can be only the Supreme Court can interpret the intent of what the law says. Not you and myself. Because the Supreme Court may interpret the intent their own way. That they interpret the intent of Prophet Key their own way and lock Prophet Key up.
If you think President Wakai is not proceeding right now, do you think there is still chance for him?
There should be no room for Yeke that Mr. Wakai, when Mr. Wakai thought and feared within himself that former president, we are getting ready to announce his own result. He called me on this phone, Clarence. Yeke, you need to get in the street. Why he didn't call the people that are acting that they're more close to Mr. Wakai today? I got 10 messages that I will share with you from Mr. Wakai up to the time election was going on. He was telling me, nephew, go to the place. I was in the night. George Kalano, Ima Gonkwa, and myself, in the midst of amen, going to protect the vote. It is Yeke today that I'm going to sitting room. Clarence, if you abuse me now, I will disrespect you. Don't abuse me that way. I brought you to power. If I want to kill you, I will not put you to power. If I wanted to.
Is this your strategy to continue to be re-elected, that anybody who becomes president, you will not work with the president so that Liberian people can see you like a critical voice?
Clarence, there must be a critical voice. That is what they call democracy. Democracy must work in the space of this country. And we have to practice it. We have to practice it, Clarence. Clarence, look, if you and myself went through an agreement, say, Yeke, make me the chairman of this place. I will buy a new chair. I get money. But the government money, I will use it wisely. Clarence, I'll make you the chairman. You not take off here. I see you with 50,000. You will tell the people if 50,000 come from. Clarence, if we can only stop the thing to say, Clarence and myself on the same khaki. Oh, okay, I get Clarence, my sister. So anything Clarence do it right. Clarence, their country was poor. We must be for the people of this country. I can come back for the people of this country. You know how many times I've been called, my man, come. You suffer too much. It is your time to enjoy. It is not my time to enjoy. It is the Lebrenpo time to enjoy, to be liberated from poverty.
What are some of the things you wanted President Wakai to do? For example, by now, what are some of the things you thought would have happened by now on Wakai?
The first thing I thought could have happened was to how you call it? Sorry, I didn't go to school. I'm meeting on the wall.
It's okay.
So to improve the life of our mothers. Clarence, you know our mothers are doing business can go to the bank and take loan for 25,000. I mean 25%. When are you going to pay that money, Clarence? Clarence, money in the country, man. Money in the country. If the husband have to go back, if the husband, I'm speaking English, if the husband have to return to remove me, and there will be money play in the process.
We'll talk to that. We'll come to that.
Okay, no, I don't want to be
improving the lives of the people, yeah.
So you see, money is in the country, Clarence. The money that they took to build that place in Foya could be used. for the people of this country. Clarence, let me tell you something. The people matters. We are enjoying and making 5,000 plus as representative. You understand? But you know how many people suffering down there? You think I feel good for my family to be in Ghana, Clarence? Ghana is very expensive. I send 500 US to Ghana every week to maintain my family.
But what's stopping you from bringing your family back home?
Because, Clarence, if this government abroad cannot be tolerant for me to make my point, to make my opinion on issues, they start to go after me. You think I wanted to go after my family? People say, oh, you got family now here, but my family now you're doing former president. We are like today, you were voted for me. That today, you know my family now here. That deception, Clarence. Clarence, my job I was doing, I made a photo come from Habel. Go to Habel, I go to the photo registration card. My job I was doing, I called the photo come from Grand Mokan. That the job I still doing. Oh, you knew I was not doing nothing. I was just talking. I was just going from Kante to Kante. Why you voted for me? That today you wanted my job? Don't tell me my job description. I know it.
Do you think you can get re-elected in District 10?
I can get re-elected at any time. Anywhere I can get re-elected.
You think so?
I can get re-elected at any time in any given situation.
There's an impression that some of the people who supported you are now bitter with you.
Yeah, they'll have to be bitter. During former president, we had time people were bitter. Clarence. Look, Clarence, let me tell you something today. See, these shares in district number 10 voted for me to be re-elected. It's not only United Party people that voted for me. Okay, we agree, so United Party people voted for me, but I have more vote in district number 10 than Mr. Waka. So where the number came from? Clarence, you have to be a serious person. Forget about the way I talk. But when it comes to seriousness, people say they may serious. They may don't be moved by money. Clarence, if I've been moved by money, tell them that money, man. If I'm not going to Mr. Waka, say, tell LeBron for what you told that 50,000 now for. You think somebody going to get on the plane to go anywhere beside Mr. Waka and myself? When people go and say your call, you can let him come. During the election time, the United Party did not call any press conference with all the presence of Yeke. They call me crazy man. You are in press conference. You not call some people. You call the crazy man. During the election, Mr. Waka took a photo registration card. He said your call Yeke, let him come. I will show you the picture. I hope you can post it. Let me show the LeBron board. I'm taking my photo registration card. Now the crazy man there. Clarence, LeBron board just elected for themselves, not for others.
Let's talk a little bit about the opposition and their engagement with the government. A lot of people say when George Weah was president here in less than 6 months, the opposition united against him. They will critique some of his policy decisions and make recommendations. They were on his back. But it seems there is an opposition that is sleeping. What do you think?
You know, Clarence, when I speak sometimes, people say, oh, we let the Willie make it talk. Clarence, we need to be slow in the country. We do not have opposition in the country. Opposition not supposed to be in the country be quiet. During former President Weah, we never gave former President Weah a chance. If I'm not in the country quiet, Clarence, nobody can make me scare me, Clarence. Anytime I enter LeBron be hard. I'm an opposition. If they want us to have peace, tell the person, look, you don't suppress Yeke. These are some of the reasons why Yeke went loose. Give Yeke his development money. Let Yeke do what he can do. But when it comes to my money, the poor will declare, what you want my money for?
But they say there is, I think, 1 or 2 other documents that you have not submitted.
Clarence, you see, when you want to come to the public, you must come to the public. I want to challenge the labours. And he say he can put a bid for people to do the contractor to come do the bid, right? Let me show you one newspaper of somebody that they did. Clarence, I will resign now as representative. Call him now, let you send it before you bring it down.
What do you mean by that?
When you put out a bid, you have to be in the newspaper. That's a public something, right?
Yeah, I mean, what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting to say there was no bid done for any lawmaker. when you bring to the public, we'll talk to the
How
public.
are these projects done there?
He know. I seen. Are you ready with your
Submitted all your documents to the
Yes,
place?
I did. And the less was for operation. When woman contractor to a Johnsonville, they did the assessment.
Who selected the contractor?
Who selected the contractor? Bossman. Everybody carry your own contractor. Don't matter. Yes, everybody did.
But they say one of the things they say you decided who to be your contractor. How will you do that?
Bossman, I am saying now on the public radio. Let him bring one paper that he did or bit. And people came on that bit. You know, breaking process that everybody got to come, right? Contractor got to come, right? Ain't got to be published in the newspaper. Let me bring one newspaper now. I will stay in this student resign now. Go. I will tell the people to take my things from the number 10 office. Let them have by election. No, we need to stop joking with the people.
Now, ahead of 2029, Yeke, who do you think can movement? How is it called? You got one movement.
The national movement to liberate Liberia from criminals and crooks. I may declare my intention maybe May this year or maybe May next year. When you put out a bid, you have to be in the newspaper. That's a public something, right?
Yeah, I mean, what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting to say there was no bid done for any lawmaker. Or when you bring to the public, we'll talk to the
How
public.
are these projects done there?
He know. I seen. You ready for to go through the project issue? Are you ready with your
submitted all your documents to the
Yes,
place?
I did. And the less was for operation. When woman contractor to a Johnsonville, they did the assessment.
Who selected the contractor?
Who selected the contractor? Bossman. Everybody carry your own contractor. Don't matter. Yes, everybody
But
did.
they say one of the things they say you decided who to be your contractor. How will you do that?
Bossman, I am saying now on the public radio. Let him bring one paper that he did or bit. And people came on that bit. You know, breaking process that everybody got to come, right? Contractor got to come, right? Ain't got to be published in the newspaper. Let me bring one newspaper now. I will stay in this student resign now. Go. I will tell the people to take my things from the number 10 office. Let them have by election. No, we need to stop joking with the people.
Now, ahead of 2029, Yeke, who do you think can defeat President Boakai?
When I declare my intention, I can defeat him.
Yeke?
Yes.
And you think George Weah and the other people will join you?
Where do you see the opposition?
You tell me.
Clarence, where do you see the opposition? Opposition in the country. The people are pointing partisan. Somebody that make commitment, sound up to be a partisan on Unity Party until he died. There's a man that was giving false results. That man supposed to be election commission chair. Where is the opposition? Come on, you tell me
They
the joke.
don't have to fight. They are
No, the opposition need to stand up. We are not saying go for it.
I think they're standing up. They are writing foreign missions. They are writing embassies and other people to draw attention to that matter.
You think that bro honor saying nothing? The woman that was honor saying it.
What do you think they understand?
The honor saying where you will have to be talking. Number one, you have to be creating awareness. Number two, number three, you have to move to the point and say, look, this is what Mr. Bwaka and Kwame want to do. They want to rig this election in my mind. Tell the people, look, what get in the mind of the people is what in the mind. In the mind of the people, Yeke is the most consistent lawmaker. Clarence, you want to walk down one side? I will take one side outside down. You want to try it now? Don't walk there.
To try what? To do?
Just to walk.
To do crafty?
No, just to walk.
But you represented everybody want to.
No, Clarence, you put it 79, if there are 50 law, 200 lawmakers, you put it in, you put my one somewhere, post, say, where you get? You want to challenge it?
Why to do that?
Because I'm consistent. Because I cannot be bought. Because I believe in the interest of the people. Nobody now call red before and say, I don't want Esau. I'll call red and say, I don't want Esau.
But somebody argue that it is not having a trickle-down effect in District 10. Yeah, the people say your district is not developing.
Yeah, then give me my money. Yeah, Clarence. Clarence, you need to say, no, this is what we get, and then you say. Then the poor district number 10 will hold me. Hold me to the push me to the wall.
So where you got the money from the body? 400 bags of cement. They gave you money. Where you
well, Clarence, before I left this place, when the people of Peace Island came to identify with me, they said they met the vice president, president promised them 1,000 bags. So they needed my contribution. I said, okay, when I come and listen to the woman when she was speaking. The woman said, when they came to me, I promised, but Clarence, rest and cement, all my expenses, I get a Muslim for 200 bags.
No, but I was asking you now.
You are getting Muslim for 200 bags. That is what I have always done.
You say if you don't receive your money, you get the development, but you
no, but that is not the development. I say, Clarence, you see, you want other United Party people. I say, I don't use my money for development, but I identify with people. That's going to identify with people. I said it. Go back to your recording. I remember anything I say, I remember it. I say, I identify with people. Clarence, don't be that United Party people. Yeah, I beg you. You need to slow down somewhere. You want to United Party?
Not going to work with me.
No, it will not work with you.
Are you available in the instance the head of state, the president wanted to see? Because I remember during a tough time of George Weah regime, there was a particular situation where you were critical and some of your colleagues and others had to carry you to see President Weah at that time. If similar opportunity came, will you go to see President Bouakai?
I got no problem with seeing anyone. But not to set record to say, Yeke went to do this. Look, sitting with you will not cost me to vote for you. During the election of former President Weah, I will see this t-shirt. I will send it to you. I will see this and maybe to vote for former President Weah. Because my supporters are in the CDC. So I got supporters. When United Party was doing the cleaning up campaign, someone came to me with two pictures together. I don't know why they didn't post it. Someone said they put a picture on Facebook. They were in there. So I said, why didn't you put my t-shirt to wear? Wearing t-shirt will not cause me to vote for you, Clarence. When I made up my mind, I will. I can do as my own will. When my mother passed on, or the vice president called me to sympathize with me. It is.
Jim, I think we are having some technical issues that we can't hear you. So what you do is log out. Let me let you in. Yeah, log out and then try to log in from the other end. Then let me let you in. Honorable DK Way, what's going on, my man? Welcome to the show. It's been a long time. We haven't seen you on here.
You kept campaign to the same place, right?
Yeah, you get myself the same thing. Why you say that?
Because you said, Lord, that you haven't seen me almost like you get your car for Ghana where you can, you talk loosely, then you take a carry back to Ghana. How you get the way you get to? But then why like catch up with him?
Yeah, they get
like catch up with him. He didn't know that to become a lawmaker of a country, you are almost like the defender, the spokesperson, and everything for a country. So you don't you talk loosely against your own country, against the people that are paying you. So yeah, he will be the only thing is they should say expel him for time indefinite so that there will be no by election. The pay that coming to him, let them use it to develop the district. Time indefinite. Nobody should expel him. Suspend him for the rest of the time without pay. Then they use the pay to develop the district. But that he will pay for a madness against his own states.
Yeah, and I think he doesn't realize the weight that his voice carries. He just goes there and talk and talk loosely and feel like nobody can do anything to it. You know, that's the thing about it. When you watch them in the house, you see the way they make and talk when you ready to talk, everybody, oh like yeah. You know,
The
this is
the comparison they want to make with the Baraka regime and the CDT regime is crazy. The CDC regime was terrorizing him. They were after his family and everything. He could not have any program in a district. It was disrupted by the regime. They sent people to his house to terrorize him. He was haunted. His family and everything was haunted. That because of that, he took his family away. Nobody after Yeke. Nobody after him for any reason. You can't be taught losing. Nobody. He said all the nasty thing about Baka and his wife. When Baka and his wife were getting married, was he around? We wasn't born at that. People been married for over 50 years. You can't be saying all the, nobody went after him. They didn't say anything to him. But I want to be in crisis and you that's supposed to be defending the state come and say madness and people say that. No. My only thing is they should not do it with expulsion so that there will be by-election in the district that will cost the state another money. Suspend him for the rest of the time without pay. Use the pay he been making and develop our district.
For the rest
that
of
every month pay use it for a project in our district.
For the rest of his term in office?
Yes. But expulsion I seen the rest of the time. Expel him for the rest of the time. My goal is I don't want for government to use extra money for a replacement. No. It will be a burden on the states.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a good. That's actually one of the question there is everything that he did, the things that he said, do they warrant him being expelled or taken from the house completely? That's all for.
So you know how Bidefa was expelled?
No. Tell me.
You know how Senator Bidefa or Magibi were expelled in Charter regime?
No.
He marched on a police, state security to march on the Capitol building with arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, any act. I think that particular place is the only government institution, only branch of government in Liberia that they have their own rules. So why would somebody say Bill Tuawe, Senator Bill Tuawe, Senator Koga, represent the Rodan OP, and all were expelled before, suspended before without pay. So who is he?
They did that to Honorable Koga too, right? Remember, right?
Yes, Koga, Bill Tuawe, and Rodan OP Copper. And those people are saying in the house, the people that they expelled after 2 of them are senator. Rodan OP was defeated and came back.
Yeah. So let's see, our host Junior is having some technical difficulties. So let's see.
Well, I think I'm okay now. I disagree with DK.
But man, you can't even come here for any disagreeing. No wonder why.
No, you know the begin. I mean, yeah, I said Joe have been looking for a topic for all to continue. So your disagreement is not doing nothing to me.
But man, our guest is here. We're not going to go with your disagreement. Our guest is here, so we've had in the back, and that's in a very busy man, and we were able to steal this time for him. So let's make sure we utilize our guest time. You know the man, my cousin. I don't know if you guys know that. The only reason why the man making time out of a busy schedule to come on the show. The man's a busy man. So y'all have to pay me small thing for bringing my cousin on. Do you get that talking plenty? Go ahead, Junior.
Thank you, CEO. Anderson is already in the back, like we said. I don't know whether you guys were hearing me previously, but we're going to be hosting Mr. Anderson D. Miamen. Anderson Miamen is the executive director for CENTAR. CENTAR is a civil society organization that operates in Liberia and other parts of the world. So Anderson joined us here tonight on the show as we discuss governance issue across Liberia. We'll be discussing a couple of things. We'll be discussing a government. We'll be discussing accountability. We'll be discussing a lot of things here tonight on the show. Mr. Miamen is already in the back, so we're going to bring him on very shortly as we continue with the show here this evening. Good evening, Mr. Miamen. How you doing this evening, Chief?
Yeah, good evening, Genio. Good evening, CEO Ivan, my own cousin. But I'm not necessarily here in my capacity as a cousin to him. I'm
Great.
here
Yeah.
in my capacity as a stakeholder
The
in
Cintas.
Liberia in the governance
Mhm.
space. And good day to DK and all other persons that are listening out there and watching this show tonight. It's a
Thank,
pleasure to be on for the second time, and I
Mhm.
look
mhm.
forward to a great conversation. Thank you for all that you've been doing. In a short space of time, I've seen the followers of the show growing on social media, and I've also seen some different reporting that you've done in different parts of the country, especially so in Nimba, in different rural communities. That's laudable. Thank you. Continue the good work and always aim for quality. Look for ways to improve the quality of what you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Miamen. Welcome to the show here, Big Steven. We are glad to have you here. Whenever you appear, we discuss more of policy reform. We discuss more of governance, accountability, and all of that, and not politics that much. But then, how is your organization? How you guys been operating in the country of late? Since you appear here, we discussed few about Centa, few issues about Centa, and now you're coming back. What have been your latest engagement so far with the government?
Center is doing well. Again, we're grateful for the opportunity to discuss governance issues. And I like the point you made about not going into politics. Of course,
Mhm.
politics is what we try to improve with the things we do because that's the process whereby people get to leadership. But then when you get to leadership, what comes now is governance, is leadership, is how you make decisions that impact positively the lives of the people, those who voted for you and those who didn't vote for you. So the neutrals, those who are opposition, those who are in position, or those who support your side, you have to lead in ways that benefit the generality of the population. So that's what leadership is all about. That's what governance is all about. And as a country that has a democracy, Liberia has different branches of government. We have the legislature, we have the executive and the judiciary, and these three separate branches coordinate to steer the affairs of the country. We can talk a little bit more about them subsequently or as we discuss the more important issues. Centaur, as a civil society organization, is a partner to government in fostering reforms, in ensuring that the democracy we have is not only sustained, but it is enhanced, that fundamental rights are protected. I heard you having some conversation regarding free speech and freedom of expression. Maybe we can weigh in on that along the way as we move on. But these are tenets of democracy that are supposed to be protected very jealously, not just based on local laws, but international frameworks that we have signed up to, like the African Union instrument promoting and supporting fundamental rights. You got the UN Convention. You got the Convention on the Rights of the Child. There are different international instruments that speak to social, economic, cultural, political, and other rights, civil liberties. So these are important instruments that we need to be mindful of as we move on. And even the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia has a whole segment, Article 11, I believe, on rights, different rights, equal protection, freedom of speech, Article 15, and all the other things that are basically needed to ensure that we have a wholly functioning society. So we work around these things as a transparency organization, as an integrity institution, complementing government's efforts and doing different things that we can talk about subsequently.
Thank you very much. Now let's go to the issue. Accountability. That's one of the pillars of Centaur, accountability. Do you think this government is doing well when it comes to holding our leaders accountable, especially in the lines of corruption? in March of this year, we heard you on radio, on other television platform, calling on the government to take decisive actions against government officials who are accused of corruption. And I want to ask you this: do you think the government is doing pretty well when it comes to handling corruption cases across the country?
Well is a relative term. So when you look at well as it is in this case, not necessarily looking at health status or health condition, that dimension of wellness. We're
Mhm.
talking about whether or not the government is doing the right things when it comes to dealing with corruption, when it comes
Mhm.
to promoting the tenets of democracy and ensuring that there is transparency and accountability. Yes, to that extent, the government is doing some things like previous governments have done. We can always compare and contrast, and we can say, okay, this administration is a little bit better than the previous administration, or that administration was better off than this one. We can make those comparisons based on empirical data. As a social scientist, as a researcher, a development practitioner, and an incoming lawyer, I'm very mindful with what I say. What we say as Centaur here is based on evidence. We do what we call evidence-based advocacy. So we don't speak if we do not have all of the facts. If we do not have all of the facts and we're speaking, we speak very cautiously, such that we qualify the things we say, and we do not make authoritative statements or blanket statements that do not tend to portray the true realities on the ground. To the specifics of your question in terms of whether or not the government is doing well in fighting corruption, I would say yes or no. Yes, in a way, because when you compare this administration, we can talk about the details subsequently along different governance indicators. This administration is relatively better off than the previous administration when it comes to dealing with corruption, governance indicators. As much as there are different challenges, there are different issues, accountability issues, transparency issues, rule of law issues that we can talk about. When you compare this administration to the previous administration, the Barkai Kunle administration is relatively, and I'm using my words very carefully, relatively better off than the previous administration. One classic example is the Corruption Perception Index of Transparency International. This is an independent research that is conducted by Transparency International, which is a global coalition against corruption with chapters and networks in more than 120 countries and territories across the world. Transparency International has been doing our research for ever so long. When Madam Salif was in power, Liberia had a score of 41 on a scale of 1 to 100, where at 0 or at 1 you are considered as the most corrupt country or perceived corrupt country, and at 100 you are considered the most clean country. By the way, no country has attained 100% on that CPI or the Corruption Perception Index. Even countries like Norway, like Sweden, like Denmark, that usually perform at the top are around 88, 85, 89, 90, thereabout. No country has attained 100%. It means that corruption is all over. Liberia did relatively well in 2012 when we got a score of 41. Before Madam Salih left power, we came down to 32. George Weah met the CPI at 32 in 2018, but before he left power, it had gone down to 25. So this administration saw the Corruption Perception Index result of Liberia or score of Liberia at 25. Over the last 2 years, a little over 2 years, there have been 3 points addition to that score. It has gone up marginally from 25 to 28. The first year in 2024, Liberia made 2 points progress. And then in the last year, which was 2025, there was 1 point addition. This is negligible when you compare us to other countries in the region. So the regional, the average for sub-Saharan African countries that Liberia is a part of, like Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, all these countries, the average is 32. So at 28, it means we are 4 points below the regional average. And then I don't even
Now,
talk global average and all of that.
Senta Executive Director Anderson Miame sharply criticized the government of Liberia on what he described as a pattern of leniency in dealing with allegations involving senior government officials. Is this your word?
Definitely.
Now, do you care to tell us much more about this? When you say leniency in dealing with a senior government official when it comes to corruption cases, can you give us an instance?
So the way I will pull it this way. Just look at, for example, how when government officials come to power, dramatically their lives changed rather. You see, for example, massive renovation. We saw that in the case of George Weah, and we're seeing it with this president, where he lives in rehab. That property is not what it is at the moment. It has experienced massive renovation, introduction of security measures and all of that. If that is possible to happen in less than 1 year, or in 2, 3, 4 months of somebody coming to power, an individual that presides over public resources, then it's also possible for the government to make instant impact or dramatic changes when it comes to governance, when it comes to transparency, especially so when the willpower is there. Where do these public officials get the money from to build all the houses when it comes to power? Where do they get the money from, for example, to build the presidential unit that they're building in Lofa? There's a whole controversy around it in terms of transparency, accountability around the source of that funding. Where are they getting the money from? But then when it comes to making dramatic changes or effecting reforms that will have trickle-down effect on the public, we see incremental progress, or we see a slow pace of progress. We don't see that revolutionary action. Something you do that changes things around immediately. Who told you that we can't get people in jail for corruption? Who told you that we can't confiscate assets? Who told you that we can't ensure that there is sufficient deterrence for corruption? But it is because the political will has not been there at the level required. There's a level of picking and choosing when it comes to taking certain actions against people who engage into corruption or other related offenses. So I gave you a classic example why we're calling on the president to be more decisive. This government came to power and started to make some appointments. Nepotism is an offense according to our code of conduct for public officials. Nepotism is when you come to power and you appoint people that are connected to you. It doesn't have to be government, so to speak, even in the private sector. When you start to employ, for example, a center here, and I start to employ my cousins, my nephew, my children, all of that, that is nepotism. There is prohibition on that when it comes to the code of conduct for public officials. When we did the first assessment of this administration, we saw a level of nepotism, even though what we saw at the time was not the president appointing necessarily family members or people who are his children, but they are people who are in a way connected to him. But much of what we saw was around people he entrusted with decision-making powers regarding those who come to government. So if you look at certain public officials, Prince Moi, for example, Senator Moi, you look at Senator Daba Vapla, these were people who were key decision makers when it comes to those the president appointed, those who made recommendations to the president for appointment. We have a situation whereby Senator Vapla has more than 4 family members in the government. Her brother-in-law is the mayor for Bon County. One of her children is serving at one of the public institutions, I think LEPA or so. Then she herself is a senator. Her husband is the board chair for Maritime. 4 family members from 4 persons from the same family in one government. So that nepotism. These are things that the government spoke out against in the past. These were things that people criticized about Manan Salif. Move away from that and come to some of the corruption allegations that came up. There are instances that the government will move with speed, laudably, the president to act. But there are other instances that he will delay or he delayed. We saw the situation with Doug Cooper, for example, at Ministry of Commerce. He was accused of academic fraud. Academic fraud, that fraud was investigated by the authorities of the University of Liberia. 2 administrations investigated that matter. They found some people guilty connected to him in terms of that offense. And the UL administration dismissed some of those people and suspended some. They made a recommendation to the president to act. Until Doug Cooper left government, the president did not act. And when he resigned by himself, he thanked him for his time in government and all of that. For us, that was a disservice, especially so that other people that were accused of corruption and other offenses were immediately suspended in terms of really doing the right things. We also saw the situation of the former chairperson of LTA, Abdullah Kamara. He was implicated in an audit report. The president didn't act. Abdullah spent more than 1 year in government, almost 2 years before he could leave government at some point. You can't say the same thing for Garrison Yolu, for example, that the president or the government accused of, not playing by the rules in terms of the role he was playing at governance commission. We were not happy with what he was doing, but he had a tenure. The government should have gone through a process to remove him. Not just Abdullah Kamara, the commissioners that the current batch of commissioners replaced at LTA, they had tenure. The government removed them. They went to court, won the case, but then the president refused to bring them back in. So these are governance issues. These are accountability issues. These are rule of law issues. These are issues that impact adversely on the state of governance in the country or the government's image when it comes to fighting corruption. We have a situation right now regarding asset declaration, for example. LACC has indicated that far more people have declared their assets, incomes, and liabilities under this government than we have seen before. That's fine. But the other piece around verifying those assets, coming to the public and seeing whether or not what Anderson has declared is true and correct, because that is the most important part of the whole asset declaration thing. The value of that process is not having merely submitting papers to a commission that they receive the information, they're not doing anything about it. Nobody gets to know whether or not what Arvin said is true or not. That is not the important part of the whole asset declaration process. It is a whole value chain. The first part of it is for you to make the declarations. The second part is for the custodian of those documents, like LACC in this instant case, to take those pieces of information and say, look, Anderson has said that he got 5 houses. Let's locate those houses and see whether it's very true that he got 5 houses. And even if those 5 houses are present, let's value them and see whether the prices he has attached to those properties are exactly the market value of those properties. When you do that, then you come to realize that, okay, Anderson has made true declaration. May I say that perjury is a crime under our laws when you lie on an oath, because people take oath to make those declarations. So when you lie on an oath, it is a crime. You can be prosecuted for that. But at the moment, we have not seen anything after 2 years in terms of verification of those assets that have been declared by public officials. Even the officials of the WIAS administration, they did exit declaration. The law requires that when you come to public service, you make your declaration. The law requires also that 3 years down the line, you redeclare. And the law requires that at the end of your time, 6 years in government, when you are leaving, you do your exit declaration. The law requires also that if having a SECA is appointed as assistant minister at Ministry of Finance, when he's appointed as a deputy minister, there is a change in status. He doesn't make the same salary as he made when he was assistant minister. The deputy minister's salary and benefits different from what an assistant minister makes. It means that his income level is different. His lifestyle could be different, or different things could change about him. So the law requires having to redeclare. Even if he made a declaration 1 month ago as an assistant minister, one thing as a deputy minister, the law says redeclare. So all of those papers go to LACC. What are they doing with them? We're not seeing much. So even those that the government say, oh, this person is corrupt. Thomas Fowler, they used to call him, I think, Thomas Fowler and all of that. What has happened to Thomas Fowler? All the allegations they were leveling against him that he was corrupt. He's whining and dining with the current administration. What has changed?
Now, how do CENTAF feel? How do CENTAF feel when you make these recommendations to government and they don't implement them?
We feel very unhappy, just like anybody would, because these are things that are right for the country. Look at those who were sanctioned by the U.S. government, for example. Nathaniel McGay, Bill Twawe, the late Prince Johnson, may his soul rest in peace. Several Andrew Wamplu, the former passport director, Serena Cephas, the former Solicitor General. There are so many. Vani Sherman. All of these people are moving around. And the actors in this government were the very people that were saying that, look, these people need to be prosecuted when we come. Or there are many reports that GSA has done. The former president is now acting, all of that. They are in power. We haven't seen much. As much as, don't get me wrong, there is marginal improvement in terms of governance. Even if you look at the MCC scorecard in terms of Liberia's performance, Liberia did relatively well. Fighting corruption and some of those indicators, they did well. But we want these things to translate into tangible results. That's the most important thing. So when you deal with corruption, and the problem we got in Liberia, people don't see the fight against corruption as a resource mobilization strategy. That is the very dangerous thing that thinking that people have. That they take it that, these people want an accountability business. They want us to put some money here. We need to use the money to build roads. It's important. George Weah did some infrastructure projects. It is not as if former President Weah didn't do anything at all. The Emory Hospital in Bapulu County, the park you have right here when you are going on the airfield, the one right behind the barrack, BTC barrack. These are infrastructure. Even the hospital that was built around the COVID-19 period, around the barrack of the 14th Military Hospital. These are all projects. The road going to red light started doing Weah's administration. George Weah did some things, but his issue was he didn't prioritize governance. He didn't prioritize accountability. Nathaniel McGay, all these people were moving around and dishing out money as though they were using their private money. So these were the issues that he had. So you can
since this government took over, what have been some recommendations that Senta have made to them that they think they need to work on for the betterment of the Liberian people?
So the first thing we did, like we've done on the previous administrations, as soon as this government came to power, we did what we call recommendations, suggestions, things that we believe that the administration should do to improve accountability and make sure that public resources are used for the purposes intended. So we said, look, you have to translate the commitments you've made into practical actions. We have seen a lot of words over time. If we mind the sweet things that politicians say, we'll keep voting for them every now and then, or Liberians will keep voting for them. But we want to see a deviation from the past, especially so that the president has said that there wouldn't be business as usual. It means the things we did before that didn't lead to much results, we changed them around. So we said, okay, that's fine. So one of the things you do, for example, is to ensure that those you bring to public service have track records of accountability and transparency. With a good team, with a team that has integrity, it is going to help the system. It is going to help to make it to work. We also recommended, for example, increasing financial support to public integrity institutions such that they help to prevent rather than to cure. When you have enough people in the ministries and agencies checking on what's happening, we will prevent corruption. It is very costly to prosecute. Investigating one case of corruption takes a long time. To go to court, it requires resources, a lot. So when we engage more in preventive measures, when we have systems and processes in place, when we digitize our processes, why I say that in this time and age, we're still talking about doing ID cards, people got to go and stay online, all of that. Yes, some of the features of these processes will require in-person engagement, but a lot of the things can be digitized. Your payment or your taxes and all of that. So that was one of the things that we recommended, that we have to go online with many of the things we do, getting your services, registering. You can go through most of the processes, and then maybe at some point you can show up at the police to get your police clearance. But to get your clearance, you don't have to go to Central. You don't have to go anywhere physically to begin the process of supplying your information. Begin that process online. it brings about efficiency. It limits the time that people can get services. It also helps to safeguard public resources in terms of saving a lot that we can use on education and other things. One of the other things that we suggested is the fact that the government should lead by example. The president should declare his assets, the speaker, and all the different people. Even though we've seen some of that, much of what we see is around the asset declaration not being used for the internal purposes. But that was something that we suggested that the legislature has to declare. And that's one institution that has been very delinquent or non cooperative or non compliant when it comes to many of the transparency and accountability mechanisms. Of course, the new administration has been talking about reform and initiating some efforts and all of that, but majority of the lawmakers need to do more in terms of adhering to the tenets of democracy or transparency and accountability. So audit is something that we also suggested very keenly. That look, GSC has been doing a lot in terms of audit. The folks at GSC, Gaswa Jassy and the team have been increasing the audit scope. They've done relatively well. But what are we doing with those audit reports? How are we using those reports to hold people accountable? Yes, LACC picks up some of those reports and acts on the findings and those that have been implicated. But the Public Accounts Committee of the legislature that is supposed to review these audit reports, because GSC or the General Auditing Commission reports to the legislature. The initial law was such that GSC will report to the executive, but then in the minds of the framers of the law or those who amended the law, they thought that the president can appoint and be the same person to receive the reports from the GSC, especially so that most of the entities that are audited are institutions that are under the executive branch of government. So the decision was made rightfully for the GSC to report to the legislature. We now have the audit, the Public Accounts Committee. You have people from the lower house and the Senate that combine to make up that committee, Joint Public Accounts Committee. They have been doing some work, but they haven't been performing at the level required. All of the audits, the reviews they've been doing, not much has happened in terms of action. So, I mean, these are a number of things that we suggested to the government. From the accountability side, you can talk about the rules, you can talk about education and all the other things. But if you don't have a solid foundation in terms of fighting corruption, in terms of ensuring that there is accountability, you wouldn't have much in terms of resources that can go to education. All the little resources you put into education, as you put them in, they will go away and you wouldn't get much resource. So this country has been behind, not because we don't have natural resources. This country is behind, not because we've had lawmakers going to the House. This country is behind, not because we haven't had president. We've had presidents over time, but the commitment has not been there. And transparency has not really been something that these people will prioritize the same way they prioritize renovating their houses, the same way they will prioritize changing where they live, their offices, to make them so decent. How is it possible, again, going back to what I said, that the president, they can renovate the home of the president, introduce security features and all of that? It's easier to do that in 2-3 months, but it's not easier to say, look, LACC, there's a budget that is, I think, 3 million or 4 million right now. What do you need? Okay, you need extra 3 million or 4 million. We just realized 200 million, as a one-off support from the deal with Metal Steel, the concession agreement. Much of that money went into things that will not really benefit the public. Of course, there are things that the government put some of the money to, for example, 50 million to AEC or the electricity sector. There are other resources to education. The budget went up a little bit, but the Ministry of National Security budget went up from 14 million to 22 million.
Thank you. Good again. Tonight we have us Mr. Anderson Miamen. Anderson Miamen is the Executive Director for Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, CENTAR. He joined us here tonight on the show to discuss key national issues across various sectors in Liberia. My name is Junior Payne. I'm here with the Don Dada himself, CEO Alvin Seka, and Mr. Siawite Zoge Tour. Today is Wednesday, and we are bringing you the April 9, 2026 edition of the Heat Hour program here on BKS TV. Mr. Miamen is here with us. We will declare the lines open for you to call us. And I'm sure they got a hotline at CENTAR where people report anonymously when it comes to corruption-related cases and all of that. Some of those things that you've been reporting to them, maybe you can call tonight and ask them whether they have been acting in those directions too as well. CEO, let's go over to you. You can ask your 2 questions. I have a lot to ask here, so if you'll lead the conversation with Mr. Miame and myself, we'll go on and on and on and on. Welcome, CEO.
I got only 1 question for him, but thanks so much for coming, Mr. Miame. This is great. I know it was short notice, but you're always willing to, make space, room for us in your busy schedule. And you want to say thanks. You are becoming one of our regulars now, and we need people like you to come and help, disseminate the information. People, it can't always be about politics, right? We need people from different backgrounds to help us in reaching our people. As you know, this platform is being relayed in Butuo, where we were both from, and across Nimba, and it's also followed by a lot of people across the country. So again, welcome to the platform. I have 1 question for you, just straight to accountability, and with everything that is going on in Liberia now, do you think government officials should be held accountable for what they say, their utterances, especially when it has to do with some national issues or that will be viewed as threat to the country?
Yes, not just government officials, but anyone for that matter. The law provides for freedom of speech, freedom of expression, but it provides for responsibility, that people should be responsible for the things they do. But the question will be, what is that responsibility and what is the extent of the responsibility? And at what point can anybody be held responsible for what to say or what to do? That will be the sticky issue. But yes, people should be held accountable. And public officials should even be held accountable more for the things they do, because they have been entrusted with power, with resources to manage for and on behalf of the people. So they have to be very circumspect in the things they do. They have to be careful. Everything they do must be in the interest of the public. They always have to think about the interest of the public in the things they do, whether they are making budget-related decisions, whether they are analyzing the budget, whether they are confirming people that have been appointed by the president in the case of the Senate, whether they are negotiating concessions that, that they recently with the Metal Steel deal and some of the other transactions that are coming online, wherever decisions to make, whether they are allocating resources at the local level in terms of social development funds that are coming from Metal Steel, B Mountain, and other companies that are operating in Liberia, the resources they contribute to go towards development in these different counties and communities. All of those decisions will have to be in the interest of the public, and they should be held accountable for them.
Yeah, thank you. And we as we know, we can disagree with things, the way things are done in the country, with policy issue, even with the current regime, if all that. But recently, on your Facebook, you share a post or a statement that was allegedly made by former city mayor of Monrovia, Jefferson Koji, and you criticized it sharply. Where he was not, I think he's not happy with the appointment of the new election commissioner, and he made a tough statement that one will consider as reckless. With regards to 2029, if the current president refuses to leave and all that stuff, he used those words that I don't want to use. Well, what say you? I know we talk about current government official, but I think it's like you said, though, it has to go across the board. Either former government officials, political leaders, major stakeholders, people that have a lot of followers in the country, regular citizens, all of us. I think the onus is on us to be mindful as to what we say to avoid, bringing chaos into the country when it comes to what we say, because the things we say can bear a lot of weight, especially when it comes to someone like that. I don't know what.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do agree. And the whole thing, the Bill of Rights, or the fundamental rights we have under Article 11 of the Constitution, and then the different other provisions like Article 15 on freedom of speech and freedom of expression, what you say and what you write. The law is very keen on the protection of fundamental rights. So we can disagree. Somebody can make a statement that is reckless and we disagree with it and all of that. But when you start to go to the level whereby you want to sanction people, you want to either investigate them and prosecute them, it's a whole different thing when you counter wherever somebody says to say, look, this thing you say is reckless. But does it meet the threshold in terms of being reckless to the extent that somebody will say, oh, we have to expel this person? For example, in the case of Representative Jake Koluba, with the statement he made regarding the dispute between Liberia and Guinea regarding the parcel of land in Lofa County, has it gotten to that point? In my mind, it hasn't reached to that point. As much as people might disagree with the statement, in fact, your right to disagree with what he says is the very right that the Constitution protects. So yes, the House got their rules under Article 38 to expel members to term, can expel a member for a cause. That is more of a political process. But then when you come to the law in terms of the Constitution, in terms of the protection of rights, the court is usually very careful to interpret laws that will prohibit or that will restrict the fundamental rights, especially rights, the freedom of expression. That's one of the greatest rights that is usually protected. So for the court to rule on a matter that will prohibit or restrict the freedom of speech, it has to be for a reason that is very genuine. For the state has to prove a case that, look, what this person said is harmful to the state, is injurious, not just by merely saying that this thing is harmful, but you can show real reason or evidence that what this person said has the proclivity or the ability to cause chaos and all of that. But it's not to merely disagree with the person and say, oh, what this person said is this or that and all of that. So that statement that Jefferson Koji made reportedly that I commented on was reckless, was ill-advised, but it doesn't amount to a statement that you can call him in to say, oh, we want to prosecute this person because he has made XYZ statement. The same thing with Yeke Koluba. In my mind, with all the things we've done, and we have to learn lessons from the past. During those administration, the top administration, these were laws that they were using: sedition, libel. That, oh, you can't say this thing against a public official. Once you come to public service, you become a public official. You serve the public. All of the things about you will not be, back again. As much as you have a level of privacy, but there's a very thin line between your privacy and your public life. So what people say to you, if somebody has insulted you, for example, God forbid, you can say, oh, I'm going to sue you and all of that. You have to, show some real reasons why the court should rule in your favor in terms of somebody demanding accountability of you and saying you are not doing the right thing. So the long of the short is the freedom of speech that we have to enjoy based on the Constitution is one that we need to jealously protect. That is why we passed the Freedom of Information Law. We also passed the Constitution that has all those provisions, especially Article 15, when it comes to protection of freedom of speech and freedom of expression. So you can disagree with people. We can do all the back and forth. You can call this person's statement reckless. You can call it anti-peace and all of that. But for it to reach that threshold that the court will say, look, what this person has said has gotten to a point that we can hold him or her responsible, it has to meet a very high standard. That's why the court, will look at what they call the strict scrutiny rule when it comes to reviewing issues related to constitutional interpretation. That if the court must interpret a constitution or interpret a law, and that law has a tendency to restrict right or to prohibit certain actions from taking place that will curtail right, the court will apply the strict scrutiny rule. And that basically means that the state must show a compelling reason that this decision they are taking to restrict the right of having to speak out. When they take that action, it will benefit the public, but not to merely say, oh, Avin made a statement, and because of that, we want to go after him. No.
Thank you. Thank you. The last one is not a question per se. We grew up in Butua. You know, you made a comment last time about road construction you saw, and you were questioning if if it was real. I laughed because since we were growing up over there, the road from that go from Buto to Banwe, and then you see the Blantour intersection there. We always saw it just like that. We never saw it develop. So that construction you saw there, the road rehabilitation, was actually a real one. And kudos to our lawmaker, our current lawmaker, for the great work he's doing there. Yeah, it was a real thing. Actually, when you said that out loud, you try to ask to see if it was actually a real story, and I say, yeah, I think I commented on your post as well.
Yes, I try. Yes, I hail from Nimba and I hail from Butuo, but like I said, I'm not here in my capacity as a son of Butuo or Nimba. I play a national role, and I try as much as possible to stay on that lane. So anything around politics is never around what we do. We're independent. We're apolitical in the things we do, but we do comment on processes, activities, because we monitor, for example, the national budget is a key part of what we do. We track the budget, we track expenditure, and then we also go even to track impact in terms of what the budget says and what the realities are on the ground. So if money comes in for a particular sector or institution, we go beyond just the allocation. It's not enough for the government to say, for example, we have 50 million in the budget for Nima County, or Metal Steel has given 2 million to Nima. It's not enough to say that, or 1 million, whatever the amount is. The most important thing is how that money is allocated in terms of the distribution out of the regions, for the districts and all of that, or the towns. And then beyond the mere distribution, to go after and say that, look, the money was used to make the real impact in or on the lives of the people. That's the most important thing. So and I had never commented on anything regarding politics, development in the county or in the district or whatsoever. But when I saw the picture, somebody posted it, that's how come I came into say, look, if this thing is true, then it appears to be a positive development. The same way we'll monitor projects in different locations. Of course, if we're doing a detailed analysis in terms of what's happening, then we'll ask questions around the source of the funding, and that's important for the residents of the district to ask. As much as they want good things happening, they should ask the lawmaker or their leaders where they are getting the resources from to do those projects. I know that they have constituency development funds that goes through lists, like Bureau Agency for Community Empowerment. They have to go through that process, to do some projects in their districts or in their counties, but there's a whole process around that. So yes, it's a good thing to do development, but you have to tell the people where the resources are coming from. And the sources have to be legitimate, because we don't want people coming to power getting resources from from suspicious sources, such that they tend to project the interests of these people when it comes to either awarding a contracts and all of that. It could be at the national level, it could be at the local level, it could be at the district level. So that question around accountability, the source of the funding for wherever he's doing there, if it is national government that is funding wherever he's doing, he has to be very clear with to the public and provide the information. If he's taking those resources from his pocket, then he should be able to very clearly see them. But then the question also would be, did he declare his assets, incomes, and liabilities as a lawmaker? Because the law requires, the code of conduct requires all of the lawmakers to declare their assets. So did he declare his assets? Has he published his assets? And do the people or the residents of the district have access to the information? It is an important accountability tool. So when you do that and people get to know what you are bringing to government, then it helps to address, some of the questions that we're talking about. If we know that you have, say, 200,000 in your account, or your balance, your asset, your entire asset is around, say, 1 million, and the cash money you have in your bank account is maybe 500,000, and it is established that you got those resources from legitimate sources, then when you're doing projects, people wouldn't think that, some shady deals, are going on, or people are giving you money through back doors and all of that. So asset declaration is important. It is a question that I want the residents of the district to ask their lawmaker, as well as they may appreciate wherever he's doing, but there has to be a transparency around what he's doing. The sources of funding for what he's doing will have to be disclosed, and he has to declare his assets, such that people get to know what he's bringing to the table the day he's leaving, so that he declares his assets as well, to tell the people, look, when I came here, I have 100,000 US dollars. I'm leaving this role with the same 100,000. All my money, my worth has even gone down, or my bank balance has gone down. That is the accountability we want in Liberia, and it's something that we expect him to do, and we expect all other lawmakers to do, not just in Nima, but across Liberia.
Thank you very much. I like the way you guys discuss the issue without favoritism at CENTAR. You do it across the board without thinking of this president is from this place, this president from this place. I love it. Now, CLT, you are here. Let's welcome you to the show. Mr. Justin Gontal somewhere is watching us this evening from Miaple, Bonat Town, around Bound. And Maurice Mackay is watching us from Shefflin Town, Margibi County. Asata M. Miller is also following us from Soul Clinic community in Pingsville City. Brunella is watching us from Gabon, or Papi Success Keita is watching us from Dupero community in Monrovia around the Pingsville Belt too, as well. Prince Wisa is watching us this evening from Ganta City, Nima County. Welcome. We have with us Mr. Anderson D. Miamen Sr. Anderson is the Executive Director of CENTAR Liberia. He joined us here tonight on the show to discuss policy issues, accountability issues across every sector in Liberia. Fumba Ture is watching us too from I think Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm very sure of that. Fumba, welcome to the show. Sewete,
I'm in Philly. I'm in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Fumba, welcome, my brother. Sewete, welcome. Let's go over to you. Ask your 2 questions, Chief.
Thank you, Gian, and thanks to the CEO, and welcome to Mr. Miamen. Thanks for the many work you do. I followed CENTAR over the years. That's, I think, is one of the credible civil society arm we got in the country, with other major civil society actors. I must commend you for the work you do, because what you guys are doing is clearly intended to put government feet to the fire. Is not only unique to this government, and what you see is clearly what you see, and is based on evidence and research. So, but I got this question that it also concerns maybe the public about highlighting corruption and all of these things. Most of your report and highlights are beyond corruption, on government institution, but less attention is being given to private sector. When I say private sector, maybe like private companies, like the concessionaires and international actors, like maybe some of the NGOs that come to the country. I don't know what's the scope of CENTAR. Is it only the research? Is it only about Liberia, or it go beyond the scope? What's the scope of CENTAR operation? That's one of the things I want to know.
So thank you for that. CENTAR's work is to collaborate with government to support anti-corruption efforts in the country, not just in government, but in civil society, private sector, and other spheres of society or areas of society. The reason why a lot of the time you hear us talking about government is because, as it is often said, to whom much is given, much is expected. So all of us put together to elect the president, and the president also appoints people in different positions to steer the affairs of the country. We also elect the lawmakers, the senators, and the representatives, who in turn appoint people or recruit people to serve. So these people preside over the resources of the country. So when you have people playing that kind of role, or those roles, there's a greater responsibility on them to do the right thing. to lead by example, to set very high standards for society to follow, for others to follow. So that is the reason why a lot of the time we will engage with government, but we do also engage with private sector. Some of the studies we do cover the private sector. We do research report on mining, for example, and we'll look at the mining award process or the whole process around granting of concessions in the mining sector, whether large scale concession, meaning there are different layers. We're talking to different segments of the population here, so I have to be careful not to speak in a way that people wouldn't entirely understand. So in the mining sector, there are different classes. You got class A, you got class B, you got class C. So class C are the people who do artisanal mining, or the small mining, the people who mine the creeks and all these different places in the rural areas that do mining with your hands. You put that one on class C. But when you start to use equipment at a certain level, then you are in a B category. And then if you're using excavators and all these major equipment, like what Metal C is doing, then you are in a class A category. The whole process around granting lessons or granting papers to people to do the different categories of mining. We assess those things and we identify issues with companies, how they pay bribes, how they influence the decisions of lawmakers, the government, how they also enable corruption in terms of undermining the due diligence functions of the lawmakers. They can't do the kind of monitoring they have to do because the lawmakers are recommending people to be employed by these companies. Because of that, they can't say much, they can't do anything. So those kind of things. So we do studies. We also do some analysis around the environmental impact of these companies, the mining operations that they're carrying out. How are they engaging with the communities? There's something called free, prior, and informed consent, meaning when a company comes to operate in a particular area, they're supposed to go interact with the people, get their consent, get their buy-in before engaging into any operation. But most of the time, they will not do that. The companies will go straight to the government, get their lessons, and then they move into the community. They will go there and say, some government officials will go and say, look, maybe the town chief, call your people together and say, oh, these are the people who will be mining here, work with them, blah, 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 and all of that. That's not how it's supposed to be. That's not how it's supposed to be. So that principle on free, prior, and informed consent is a very key principle, when it comes to concessions, when it comes to engaging with communities, extracting resources, and all of that. So we investigate those things and we speak to them. But the point, again, going back to your question, why we engage a lot with the government is because, look, LRA collects our taxes on our behalf. Even the very companies you're talking about, LRA collects the taxes from them. If LRA decides to collude with a particular company to limit the taxes that the company pays, and they get kickback in the process, it limits our domestic resource mobilization capacity. So by domestic resource mobilization capacity, we're talking about our ability to raise money locally. So we depend on international partners. The way our national budget is, we get some resources locally, and we get development partners to contribute resources. Groups like EU and other development partners do what is called direct budgetary support. So the EU will give direct money and say, look, our money will not come in indirectly to go to different things. We'll put in 50 million in the budget, and the government can allocate to different sectors, and it is in the budget as a contribution from the EU. But there are other partners that will contribute resources, but those monies, they will manage on their own, work with the government, and they pass them through third parties to do implementation. So we got that. But majority of the budget we got is from domestic resource mobilization or domestic revenue. How we support LRA to do that is important. So if LRA must do that to generate more revenue from real estate tax, from other areas that we're not doing well in terms of revenue collection, then we have to engage with LRA as a civil society organization, do analysis, push them, advocate for more support to them, but then also holding accountable for the resources they have to be able to address the loopholes in the system. When I was growing up, like many of you, back home, the customs people were the most talked about people at the borders. You know, even amongst the immigration people, the G2 at the time, they used to have G2 and all these people, the custom people were the big boys. And the reason is simple. They handle the cash directly. They handle the cash directly. So how accountable are these people? What accountability measures do they have? ARA right now, you know, got digital system, but it is not deployed in all of the locations across the country to collect taxes, to collect revenues, or custom, you know, income, revenue. So they got different kind of taxes, income tax, this other one, but the custom duties. That's what we're talking about. So if you got digital processes that will remove the human interaction part, it will help to limit corruption. It will make sure that government collects more revenues. So we have to demand more of the government. And when the government leads by example, when you have a transparent government, it will also help to make the private sector transparent. The corruption in government is what is usually transported or exported to these different sectors. If you have a transparent government, you will most likely have a transparent private sector. Or even if the companies come and they are corrupt, the government's action will compel them to conform to the laws and play by the rules. So that's why we engage with government a lot, but we also do engage with the private sector actors.
So with that, can we say there's a gap in pursuing accountability in those sectors?
Oh yeah, definitely. There are gaps. There are gaps. Even with the government, the engagement with the government, there are gaps. We're talking about 15 counties across Liberia at the moment. We're active or relatively active in like 9 counties or 10. Let's say 10. We added Grand-Juliet to the counties that we have some projects in. But even in those counties, we're not in all of the locations. We do work in Nima, but we haven't gone to Tapeta, for example. We haven't gone to Ban with our engagements. Yeah, rarely we go to Saclapie, but most of the time we're in Ganta and we're in maybe we go towards Campley and all of that, or Yekipa. But even those engagements are intermittent. Once in a while, yes, we got representatives in those counties that can do that do engage with the stakeholders, go into the communities, create awareness and all of that. But we need to increase the scope of our engagement. We can't do that with the level of resources we have. So we have our own challenges, but we don't want to cry a lot. We have to make the most of what we have such that people can come in to complement the existing resources or add to the existing resources we have. So there are gaps in accountability, there are gaps in monitoring, the kind of scrutiny we need to do, for example, tracking the efforts of the local administration in the Mark County. There have been a lot regarding some of the positive things that the leadership has been doing. But are there real independent monitoring to see all of the things that are happening, to match those actions with the priorities and see whether or not there are not lapses in the system and all of that? You need independent analysis to be able to do that. As much as good things may be happening, but that independent scrutiny is needed. In-depth analysis is needed to track what is happening and then come up with independent report that can then say, okay, yes, the superintendent and the team, implemented 10 projects. The resources they used are actually what they should have used to do this project, or they used more resources, than expected, or they used less resources than expected. Those kind of analysis people need to do, not just CENTAR, but other civil society organizations, but we can't do them because we don't have the resources required. We try in a way, but yeah, we got major gaps that we need to fill as we move on.
Thank you. The reason I asked that question, because you are running, an institution that is highly independent, and most time those reports are done in Monrovia, and some of those reports it affect directly our people, in the hinterland. And another thing I think that would be my last question from the host. Whether we'll have second round or so, I don't know about. Why I wanted to know, most time our focus, in fact, your institution or any other civil society or accountability focus group, accountability group focus is on either the government, like I said, but the reason I asked the question is because right now we have a case where the a national from Napa even raped a 15 years old child. Last year we had some group of young people raise the issue of unemployment in Liberia, in the county to be specific, in Nimba, and with Mita. Not to be sessional, most of the works they were doing, Liberians were qualified to do, but they brought people from Napa, Asia, and other places to do the work. And at this point, the kind of attitude is going on, like raping, our kids there and what have you going on. So that's why I asked a question regarding, the pursuit of accountability, because even the issue of employment, you criticize government of not providing a job, but whether you maybe go through Mita and the rest of the private company to know whether they are in compliance, with government regulations, and that's why I asked that question. So whether your role also goes to company like Mita to see how their compliance process is in terms of job qualification, who they recruit, and all of that. Because at the end of the day, the pressure comes on the government. If the government is not providing the job, the pressure comes back to the government and those informal sector or the private sector that should provide a job.
But interestingly, it is the very government that is supposed to monitor these people. The lawmakers are supposed to provide oversight, and the Ministry of Land, Mines, and Energy is supposed to assign technicians to the different concession companies to monitor what's happening, to even check on what they're extracting. Before they do any export, there is supposed to be a whole valuation process to check what ever they are taking from the country, how much it is worth, and all of that. So the very government that people criticize for not creating employment, as you rightly indicated, or doing enough to create employment, is the government that is shortchanged in the process when they bring these foreigners who are not supposed to occupy positions that Liberians are supposed to occupy. The labor law is very clear that for a foreigner, for anybody to bring a foreigner in the country to do a particular work, it has to be clear that there are no available Liberians to perform that job or to do that job. But when you have Liberians that are qualified to do the job and they're available, so being qualified and being available, they're two different things. Alvin could be qualified to do a particular work, but Alvin is way in the US and not on the ground. So if the company needs, people to work, of course, Alvin is a Liberian, is qualified to do the work, but because he's not on the ground, it means he's not available. So qualified and not available, then you go for those that are available. In that case, the company has to publish, the role and all of that, go through a process and get, authorization from the Ministry of Labor to bring people in to serve in those positions. So I agree. So if the government feels very strongly that these companies are undermining her effort to create employment, they will vigorously monitor what is happening and make sure that these things don't happen. Because the thing about it, civil society can work. We have limits. We got scope. The way government institutions will go in easily, or Ministry of Lands and Mines will have unhindered access to these companies in terms of monitoring what they're doing. It is not the case with civil society. When we write these people, sometimes they take very long, sometimes they ignore our requests. So we have to find innovative ways to get the information. As much as they will be credible and all of that, but the kind of details that we need to put into those analysis, sometimes we don't do it because the companies shield information. I remember there was a time that something happened, news broke out that B Mountain was, using a plane to take the gold from that place to get to RIA and then do the shipment or export. So it was a whole noise. We didn't know that there was some airstrip in Cape Mount that the company was using, and that airstrip belongs to government, based on what we learned. But then it was a whole noise. People were hearing it about the first time. So we decided to go in and do some monitoring. At that time, we decided to go in with LETI. LETI is the Liberia Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. They are a multi-stakeholder platform, government, civil society company, everybody coming together to ensure that there's transparency in the extractive sector, mining, agriculture, and all these sectors. They got our oversight responsibility. They follow up on what government says they collected from these companies, and then they also go to the companies and get information from them regarding what they said they paid. So who paid what and who received what? So that verification, that cross-checking, they do that. They should have unhindered access to these companies in terms of where, how they operate, where they operate. But it was interesting to know that we left from here and went to Cayman. We wanted to do a quick check, a spot check, kind of stuff. We got to the gate, the people say we can't enter. The Letty boss was there. In fact, it is his car, their car, that we used to go to Grand Cape at the time, to go to B Mountain, to check on what they were saying, to go and ask, some simple questions and get clarifications. They refused us entry and we had to come back. So imagine if we're going with a government, a government entity that is leading that sector or overseeing that sector, and we get that kind of challenge. What more of a civil society? Yes, some of the companies are responsive, but a lot of them do not give in terms of giving information. But we still find innovative ways that we get information, other third-party information. Some of the time directly, we rely a lot on what the media is reporting. We engage with citizens themselves to get information. But the long of the short is we have a limit to what we can do. As much as we can get engaged at all fronts or on all fronts, we have a limit. And even when we collect the information, we can publish them, we can engage with government, but government has to pick things up from that point to ensure that they enforce these different provisions of the different laws we have. So that's what I can say. But lastly on that, center, as much as we cover a lot, there are certain areas that we do not also go, like issues around rape. We do partner with institutions who do work around rape, or the call center we have receives lots of complaints. 4432, like Gian was saying, that is the hotline. You call it free of charge. You will report corruption or anything you see. Based on what you report, we will then identify the relevant agency or line ministry, agency or government, and we forward the complaint. So if you say something that borders on labor matter, like there are labor law violations in a particular place, we will do some fact-finding, and once we get a little bit more information, then we do the packaging and forward that issue to the Ministry of Labor. If it is a co-corruption issue, then we send it to LACC. If it borders on sexual and gender-based violence, then we send it to the Ministry of Gender and Social Protection. So those are the kind of things we do. We have a limit, but we can do a lot more when we collaborate.
Thank you. Thank you, Gino. I know you say you have a lot of questions. Let me ask my last question here before you can take.
Yeah, most of my questions have already been asked by you guys, so let's keep the conversation flowing.
You go first. They will tend to get all the questions. Mr. Miame, everything we do, people tend to judge us based on results, right? So what would be a case, maybe a few cases or most recent case, that anti-corruption case that you will point to as a winner from your organization's standpoint?
So results come in different dimensions. The work we do is a soft kind of work. It is not advocacy work. Is not like those who do construction, for example, that you break ground, you see the physical infrastructure of the project, and you can say, oh, we build one clinic, we build one hospital, we procured drugs, educational supplies that we distributed, copybooks and all of that. That's not the kind of thing we do. So the human rights kind of work, even though we support these things, but is not physical. So sometimes it can be tricky to identify impacts, but we do make a lot of impact. For example, if you look at the level of awareness around corruption, dealing with accountability issues right now, people reporting, having confidence to report, moving away from the level of shyness that we wish to see, or lack of confidence. People are afraid that when they say something, they will be retaliated against. Even though some people are still afraid, but we have a lot of insight now in terms of what citizens think corruption is and how they can report it. we can't attribute that entirely to Centaur, but we have a huge part in contributing to that in terms of mobilizing citizens and giving them reasons why they should stand up and demand accountability of their leaders. So that's something I can point out. If you look at also, for example, some of the cases that LSCC has been dealing with, there is a particular case regarding the Planned Parenthood Association of Liberia. That case came through our advocacy and legal advice center at some point. We filed it to LSCC. LSCC went to court and secured conviction at the trial level. So it means at the the first level of the court process. When you go to court, the circuit court will then hear the matter and then make a determination. The people were found guilty at the trial level, but then they took appeal to the Supreme Court, and that appeal process is still ongoing. So that is a case that we received through our advocacy and legal advice center. The hotline I told you about, people call, and sometimes people walk in with information and say, look, we have this information, these are the documents. Please keep our identities secret. And that is a key part. We take very seriously the security of those who report corruption and other issues to also confidentiality is a key part of what we do here. So that's one. In fact, there was a situation that we had at some point regarding one of the, I wouldn't call a name, but one of the mobile companies that is operating in Liberia. They went to a community and they got land that they rented. They signed an MOU with the community and made some payment. There was some outstanding payment, but after they made that payment, more than 2 years down the line, the company didn't want to pay the second tranche payment. Then the company went back and forth with residents of the area, and the company went back and forth. There was no light. So when they heard about our advocacy and legal advice center and that hotline 4432, they decided to call. We intervened. Something very interesting happened. We decided to write the company to inquire from them if this MOU exists, because we had a copy of the MOU, if this MOU exists or existed, and whether or not they are aware of the allegation from the community regarding non-payment of the remainder of the MOU or the value of the MOU that they signed. As soon as the company got the communication, they invited us to go and talk, to have a conversation. When we got to the place, they were ready to produce the check. All they asked us was whether they should put the check in our name to give to us, that will process and make the payment to the community. And we said no. We are not here to receive the money on behalf of the community. Do the check in the name of the people, and we can get them to get a check. In less than a week, the people got a check. Something that had existed for over 2 years, that they were going back and forth. They made a report to us. We wrote the company to go and have a conversation. The first meeting, during our first meeting, when they saw us, they said, can we put a check in your name? And we said no. So I'm just saying it to tell you how the work we do makes impact. There was a place in Nima also that we had an intervention on success story. We went there and talked about corruption. No, the people heard about the same advocacy and legal advice center on the radio, the hotline number 4432. This community, was in the business of finding people who either insult or engage in unorthodox behavior or things that are not correct, going against the community rule, causing and all of that, fighting. So people will pay fine, and this community leader used to collect the money. But then at some point, he ate some of the money. So the town people decided not to pay any longer. So trust was broken. When they heard about the hotline, somebody decided to call. So we left from here and drove to Nimba. We drove to the place, inquired, had different conversations here and there. In no time, the person who ate the money that we're talking about agreed and restituted the funds. Law and order got restored in the community. Trust came back. Those who said, before that they were not paying fines any longer because that person had eaten the money, they started to pay, because law and order have been restored, the trust level has gone up. So these are examples. There's lots of different parts of the stories. Even when you talk about the integrity clubs that we have at universities and how some of these students have helped to report corruption involving teachers. Some of those teachers have been dismissed, because they were either soliciting sex from girls or students for grades, or they were receiving bribes, and those things were reported, they were investigated, and they were dismissed in the process. So lots of different examples that we can cite, but the long of the short is that we have a long way to go. As much as we're making this impasse, the bigger picture is we want to see corruption reduced holistically, especially so at a bigger level, whereby public resources can be used in ways that will benefit the public. With all the resources we have, our rules will not be very terrible. Lawmakers will not be making interventions here and there. As much as they are good, they are not long-lasting, they are not durable, because when rains fall 1 or 2 times, those rules will go back to the same conditions. So while we welcome these, interventions, individual interventions of lawmakers, not just, what's happening in District 5 or other locations across Liberia, government has to take responsibility and go in to do something more substantive, more durable, more lasting, because then people will benefit. It will be genuine, it will be inclusive, it will be holistic, it will be long-lasting and impactful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are nearing completion of the show here tonight. And if you are listening to us, you want to make your contribution, you call us on +25079542847, and you will be able to make your contribution to the show here tonight. We are hosting Mr. Anderson D. Miame Sr. Anderson is the Executive Director of Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, Center for short. Now, Mr. Miame, we have roughly 15 to 20 minutes with you. Now, let's go to some other trending issues across the country. The recent appointment by President Joseph Joman Boakai, appointing General K. Wido as the chairperson for National Election Commission. I saw some kind of news on certain platform that you criticize that, and you are calling on the Senate to not confirm his appointment. How true is this information, Chief? And what is the official position of Center?
It's kind of tricky. That is why I'm very careful what I do personally and what I put on my page, because usually what I post, it is said that is newsworthy and people will take it, lift it, and all of that. Usually the institution will have a formal position. We will issue press statement, or we have press conference, press release, and find other means that we can comment substantively on things that are happening. Okay. But there are instances also that I do my personal posts, but usually there's difficulty in separating the things that I say from what the institution.
Because you're the big man, so it's hard to.
Yeah, so I find it difficult, and that's why, apart from maybe jokes and all of that, what I say, what I post on my page will usually be, if the institution were to make a position, that would be the thing that the institution says, so that my actions do not bring reputational issues to the organization. Having said that, I made that post regarding the neutrality or the independence of Mr. Wido. The Elections Commission is a very delicate institution. That is one of 3 institutions that I specifically highlighted in the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. The establishment, the Elections Commission, the Civil Service Commission, and then the General Auditing Commission. Those 3 institutions are expressly indicated in the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. What that means is they're important, and the way the law is, the president has the power to appoint. The president can appoint. And the law says in, I think, 2.5 of the new elections law, that when the president appoints, before anybody assumes that role, before going for confirmation, they have to denounce or renounce their relationship with any other political party. If they were a partisan of a political party, they should resign, before going for confirmation. That is the law. So the law does not say really that entirely this person does not have to be with a political party before being appointed. But the intent, the spirit, the intent of laws, and the other principles that apply in terms of governance, in terms of accountability. Two things. While it's true that Mr. Wido has the technical capability, he has served at the Elections Commission, for several years. He has gone on some international missions related to electoral governance and management. He has the technical capability to serve in that position. We cannot say the same thing for his independence. In the wake of the video that we saw during the elections, that he was flanked by the former chairperson of the Elections Commission, Mr. James Flomoya, reading results in favor of the Unity Party or the Alliance or wherever that is. The indications are that he was providing consultancy. He had a firm, and then they were providing consulting service and all of that. But what I can say to that is that what I know of, a lot of the people who provide consultancy, professional services to political institutions will usually play those roles in the back. You will hardly see them coming to the forefront and reading results in ways that make them to appear political or connected to that institution. There are consultancy firms that will do maybe surveys to assess the winning potential of different candidates, and they will provide the information in the back. They will not come to the public and be reading results in a way that will portray them as being political or beyond just providing that consultancy and being a part of the whole setup. When you have somebody who say, for example, in this area here is a clearing, it's a landslide, there's no match, it's like this. I mean, it takes you beyond just producing the report, doing a piece of consultancy, and puts you in a position as either a partisan or somebody connected to that political party. So for us, with all the Liberians we have in the country, independent-minded people, or those who are independent both in practice and on paper, because they got actual independence and they got perceived independence. So, I mean, we can find another time to have that conversation. But the point is, people should perceive you as being independent, and you should be independent in actuality. So, meaning, for example, you were part of a political party and got appointed. You renounced your relationship with that political party. In actuality, you are no longer a member of that political party. But will the perception change that you will have no alignment with that party? It's not going to go away instantly. That prior connection you had, the perception would be that the things you do will not be as independent as another person who has got no political alignment, that is capable, but there is, not politically connected. So that is our point, that with the kind of Liberia we're building, with the capacity we have, this is not the only person that the government can appoint or the president can appoint. So our argument is not necessarily a legality argument that the appointment is illegal. No, the president has the power, and the law says you can resign. But why should we get to that point? Why should we get to that point when there are other people that are competent and independent that we can appoint and will bring independence to the table, rather than appointing people that will denounce their relationship or renounce their relationship, but then people will still perceive them as, having bias towards certain political groups and all of that.
So just to get things clear here, CENTAR have not made any official statement about the appointment of Chinelo Wido.
Yes, so CENTAR has not made an official statement. But like I said, what I say is usually interpreted. And I find it, sometimes I frown on the journalists and all of that, but I can't dictate to them in terms of what to do. That has been what they've been doing almost all of the time. So I'm careful what I put on my page, but that is what it is. That was a personal post that I did, but I can understand that you can't detach, I can't detach myself from the institution in terms of the things I do, because whatever I do may be reasonably connected to the institution. So that line is very thin, and that's why even you over there as a journalist, what you do is important. Wherever you do will be linked. The first thing they will say, Jion Pan, a reporter, a senior reporter, or the presenter of SYZ on BKS TV or radio has been accused of this or said this. Even if you try to say, look, this thing I did my own thing, the company, not part of it, even the company came to do a statement. Of course, yes, they will take it that, look, the person didn't do this thing in his capacity, but it will be difficult to really, the line will be very thin, and it's understandable.
Thank you. Mr. Miame is here with us. I mean, great conversation here tonight. Now, before we take leave of you, I want to ask you this question. The issue of accountability, reform, and all of that, having, decisive punishment for people who are held accountable for corruption-related matters across the country and all of that. The government, this current administration, is involved with law reform. What we are hearing is that they want to amend some provision of the Constitution and some other laws in our country. And other people have been saying the reason why officials of Liberia continue to be corrupt is because there are no decisive punishment that are taken against these people. In fact, the government is not holding these people accountable, especially when these people are aligned with them. What is CENTAR official recommendation to the government as they are, going about with the entire reform, the law reform thing currently? Have you guys made any other recommendation as to which other law you think can be put in place so that accountability can be held really to the highest standard? Which other law can be removed from there? Those laws that have been holding people backward, not to punish people and all of that. What are some of the recommendations you've been making, Chief?
So there are no more practical things that can happen. Yes, I get the point about the constitutional review or rewriting of the Constitution of Liberia. There have been thoughts that we need to rewrite the entire Constitution and not even amend it. Amendment would be trying to make some changes to certain provisions, but a whole rewriting process perhaps is needed, because we did our Constitution, right after the coup. 1986. It has come a long way because of the war, lots of different things happening. So we need to put a lot in place to mainstream accountability, have some very strong languages in the Constitution, clarify some things, looking at some of the things that have been helping to foster development in other countries, looking at citizenship, whether we should open it up, we should be deliberate about it, looking at the requirements for being a president, what we have in the Constitution, does it meet the current day reality in terms of maybe the age limit, how much you should have and all of that, the residency clause. Those are all things that we can look at, even rights when it comes to fundamental rights, the processes around that. So there are different things that we can look at. Probably a whole show you can have, or we can have to talk about the Constitution and some of the thoughts around it. But the long of the short that we need reform, genuine reform, holistic reform. We need to be, engaged with the conversation around dealing with corruption, dealing with accountability issues in a dedicated faction, in a more committed faction. We need to have our laws in ways that can hold everybody accountable, but particularly so our leaders accountable, that we can have very strong deterrence mechanisms. What I can say also is that, look, when you make it very expensive for people to steal, when the cost of stealing is very high, nobody will want to steal. If Anderson stole, God forbid, and my children grew up not seeing me in the home and I was in jail, maybe when I was going to jail, my children were, say, the biggest was, say, 5 years. And that person didn't know me that much. And I went to jail for, say, 15 or 20 years or 30 years. By the time I'm coming out, those children have grown up. They're big men now. They probably moved out and all of that. They didn't enjoy the benefit of having their father around, for the mother and the father to take care of them, for their father to take care of them. So the suffering, the pain they will go through, apart from just, that social, that affinity not being there, those children will never want to steal, because they will not want their children to be deprived of the opportunity that they didn't have, because their pa went to jail, their mom went to jail for stealing. They will never want to steal. So we have to make it very expensive for people to steal. At the moment, the mechanism we have are deterrents very weak. Even as weak as they are, we don't want to enforce them. We cherry pick in terms of the enforcement. Like I said earlier, it's very easy for the president to come to power and renovate a house, change a house around, put air conditioning. Yet, there might have been air conditions, but put security measures and all of that. If that is possible in 2-3 months, why it is not possible to change the lives of people around substantially in a very short period of time? Maybe the argument would be that one person, but okay, do it small. Remove the people out of poverty, the next batch of people, by the time you go, you've done that substantially. So it shouldn't be things that benefit public officials and they do them easily, they do them fast. But then the ones that border on the interests of the people, they take time and they start giving excuses. Why are they not giving excuses? Why they can't find money to renovate the president's house? Why George Weah didn't find excuse for not building all the mansions he built? He could find money to build them. But when it comes to supporting JFK, to put money in JFK, get all the equipment, all the modernization, then they say, oh, no money, the budget small and all. Oh, the budget not small for you to break your 9th Street mansion and build it. The budget not small for you to build Jamaica Resort. The budget not small for you to build the fence and all the property he built in rehab. It's not small for you to build all those units you built in on Robert Street Highway. When it comes to equipping clinics, they say, oh, no money. It can't be that way. The lawmakers are always finding money to go on vacation. When they go on constituency break, they get money. And that's one area we need to have reform. Many people go in that place only to make money. They do little or nothing. And they work for less than 6 months a year. By the time you look around July, they say, oh, we on break. And every time the president called them, they got to pay them. Those are the things that we need to address in our constitution. That part of the law that says every time the president calls the people, you got to pay them. Why should somebody pay you for coming to do your work? And the way we also allocate the resources, why you will give the same amount of gasoline to a rep to Yeke Koluba, the representatives in Monserrato, to just as the gasoline you give to the representative that is from Nimba or from Grand Crew. What sense it makes? That allocation should be based on analysis. How much does it take for you to leave from here to go to Grand Crew and come back to visit your constituency? It will give you gasoline. It should be on the basis of that. Somebody in Monserrato that can practically walk to work, say District 8, where Akara's grade used to be in Priest 2 or something is right now. That person can practically walk to the Capitol building every day. Why that person will receive the same amount of gasoline as the person who comes from Grand Crew, from River G, and other places. So those are the.
Mr. Miame, if the debate go that way, other lawmakers will say these people to the left in Monrovia, they are not coming from that district every day to come to work.
They do go there.
Yes, they do, but they do go to their district most often doing.
Go there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that's the point. So even if you bring that analysis in, whatever way you turn it, they can't receive the same amount of gasoline as the person who practically sleeps in the Capitol building.
Thank you very much for being here tonight. It's been a wonderful conversation with you, Mr. Anderson G. Miamen. Thank you so much for always taking up our invitation, for being here to discuss issues affecting Liberia, Liberians, and all of that. I want to ask you this last question, and then you can give us your parting comment along with that.
The last question,
yeah. So, how active is your? Yeah, whenever you hear, we let to discuss everything in totality. How active is your high school club? Before I participated in that, I was one of the members of the club, and also I served as one of the leaders of the club when I was still in high school back then. How active are they currently across the country?
Which of the clubs you were part of?
The Accountability Club, Center for Transparency and Accountability, High School
That were,
Probation Club.
yeah, in where? In Nimba, where? Which
In
county?
Nimba.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you. The clubs are active. We have clubs, we call them integrity clubs. The
Mhm.
original idea was that the clubs were situated in the counties, and people like Melvin Swa,
Yes,
from
great.
Radio Lima, a lot of them so we have clubs in Grand Chile, in Nimba, in Magibi, in Bong, and then in Grand Bassa. So these were places that we, started the whole art club idea. But right now we moved it from the counties, and then we have them at universities. So one is at UL, another one is at United Methodist University, African Methodist Episcopal University, and Stella Maris Polytechnic University. Then we also have some clubs in high schools. We've been engaging with the Nima University and a few others across the country. The clubs are active. The students are engaging. Some of the success stories that I was talking about came from the art clubs about students raising issues of accountability, corruption, sex for grades, and teachers getting dismissed and all of that. So yes, but we need to do more. We got, over 3,000 schools across the country, both public and private. We need to reach out to as many schools as possible. But at the moment, the clubs are active in few schools, especially in Monserrado. We need to do more to decentralize.
Thank you very much for being here tonight, Mr. Miame. In 2 minutes, give us your parting comment, Chief.
Well, it's always a pleasure to be on. We do serve the public, but in a non-governmental capacity. That's why we see it as a responsibility to field ourselves.
I beg you, Mr. Miame, please permit me to ask you this question. If you were requested or asked by the president to go and serve as the chairperson of NEC, will you accept that?
I don't want a government job, right now. I have zero interest in government job. Where I'm serving, I'm happy, I'm okay serving this capacity. This is something that I have passion for, and I intend to do it. Of course, I'll transition at some point, but I don't intend to transition going to government. I mean,
Thank you.
others can serve, we can play the role we're playing. You don't have to go to government to serve the country. You can serve in wherever capacity. I'm happy serving outside of government, and I intend to remain on that path.
Thank you. Go ahead now, your
So
parting comment.
I was saying that it is a pleasure being on. It's always a good thing to come on platforms like this to talk to the public. We have to do more. We all have to play our parts. Liberia is for all of us. We have individual and collective responsibilities or duties to make this country better. The country will not improve if we are sycophantic in the things we do. If we are all healing people, even if they are doing the wrong things, you can criticize, you can talk about the good things that people do, but you also have a responsibility to criticize reasonably where necessary. The good leaders are leaders who bring people who oppose them, and not necessarily people who will say yes sir all of the time. If you are that kind of type of leader, then you are destined for failure, because your flaws will not be identified. By the time people will start to identify them, it will be late. So the earlier you start by, availing opportunities to people to speak out, to tell you some of the things that you don't need to hear, that will help to improve, your performance and all of that, the better it will be. Liberia must grow. Liberia must become better. The country must become better. Nima must become better. The entirety of the country, and we can do that if the corruption level is very high. We need to do more. At the center of everything we do is good governance. When we improve transparency, we improve accountability, we'll raise more domestic revenue, our resources will go to things that matter, that will benefit the public, and the country will be better for all of us to live and enjoy. Thank you so much. I look forward to coming on at some point. I can't tell when, but it's always a pleasure engaging with the team. Thank you for all that you do. Continue the great one.
Thank you very much for being here tonight, Mr. Miame.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great. That was the voice of Mr. Anderson D. Miamen. Anderson Miamen is the executive director for CENTAR. CENTAR is Transparency for Accountability in Liberia. You're here tonight, and we discuss a couple of national issues too as well. We'll go for this break. When we come back, we go for our analysis and our parting comment. My man Chris came very late, so he will just weigh in on the analysis and the parting comment side, and we call it. Yeah, we call it a day for tonight. But let's go for this break. We'll be right back. A beauty in simplicity.
Yeah, Chris, I break our whole thing. Oh. Chris, you can't even
What a break.
That a break now, Chris, not break. Oh. Chris will now call you the closer. Chris, the closer. You can't close. I mean, what kind of break we're going for? The breaking kind? That video you play?
I don't know what is going on, but again.
Oh, simplicity. You give me, I take 'em. You no give me, I leave 'em now. So God great, no.
If you give to me, I'm definitely going to take it. I remember when Amara Connor said, lower your expectation in this administration. You know, lower the expectation. My expectation is very low right now. If you give to me, I will take it. If you don't give me, I will leave it. So my expectation is very low. Selwity, welcome. Let's go over to you. What do you think? What do you think about Anderson's appearance tonight? What's your take about it? And then you gave us your parting comment, and maybe you can weigh in on the. But I wanted to discuss the price thing. But the president issued a statement today that they have put a hold on to that. So I don't think it would be necessary for us to discuss that right now. So let's just go for our parting comment and our analysis. Go ahead, Chief. You have 2 minutes.
Oh, I thought we were giving the opportunity to the gentleman at Jack King, but anyway.
I think we should. I don't know. I think between he and Chris, yeah, but I think we should give it.
Let's get an opportunity to the gentleman.
Go ahead.
Let's go ahead. Chris will not want to speak before see how it is. So I know that.
Well,
go ahead, Chief.
John, in all fairness, the show was good. And for me, those questions I asked, it was intentional. Because you see, most time, they are doing the work and they got a description of their job to do. Because they are working on fundings. And the funding is not coming from government. It's a donor funding they are operating on. So I follow Central over the years. They are doing a very good job, very marvelous job, I must admit. You know, what I will encourage them to is that the private sector too should be, you know, sometimes reserved, if that's a better word, because the private sector and other international organizations come to the country, they just run those institutions the way they want it to be. But I mean, Center is doing their best. They are all human. And it's not different in running the institution. They are human beings. So over the years, they have done their part. And I think their advocacy is also strengthening governance in our country. But I know you are going to ask me about, that issue of tax and all of that. I mean, that's the best way the president put it. But for me, I strongly supported that argument. It could not be 100%, but there could be some reform or some study around it. You know, people in Liberia, what I see is, a sycophancy. That's what I see. People leave from Liberia, Gion, they go to other countries. Even where you sit in Rwanda, you go to bar. If you even buying a luggage, once those guys give you receipt, that tax is applied right there. But in Liberia, only because the system is not built to that, you see people making argument. Even bicycle, as least as it is in Rwanda, you see people paying, I think it's 12 I think we did research on it when we were doing project management. I think it's around 12K a year. And it is tax that build government. You're saying people are not employed, people are not, you don't have road, you don't have electricity. How will you build a country? So for me, I support it 100%. The only thing that should have been some reform on the tax, collection and what have you. There should be some bracket and stuff, and carry on a broader consultation than just coming up with tax imposement. No, but on the overall, I can tell you, people who even criticizing that, those are people who live abroad, who live other areas. They are paying for everything. They pay bill than any other human being. But for Liberia, when they talk about Liberia, they want to politicize it. Liberia is not a different country than Liberia is part of the world. Liberia is part of the globe. Every society depends on tax. But like we said, the president put hot to it. The only reason he did that is to see how they can better structure it. I think that's what I see. But in the absence of that, go to Monrovia and see the number of tailor shop. Go to Monrovia or in Liberia and see the number of hospitality. The only thing they do is they just register the business. Once they register, that's all. There are a series of taxes they need to pay. In Liberia, you pay rent, but the people you rent from, they don't even pay tax to government. All these things need to be put in place. How do we raise tax? But you talk it only because people want to play politics. You see them running all the way. But when they go to other countries, they abide by the rules and regulation. But as it unfolds, when the reform or the discussion is being made, we'll make our position only, like we say. For me, I'm not a Seiko fan. Once the government does wrong or the government do something that is against the will of the people, I will sit here and acknowledge that. I will say it. But when it comes to what you see, Ghana, the Ivory Coast, to conclude.
Let me ask you this too. The Liberia National Fire Service fees that was imposed, do you think it was right to do so?
But Gian, the first thing is all of these entities got their role to play in the country. So how you see fire service you operate? Why you see it's not a revenue generating entity, but they are statutory responsibility of fire service. All these things they are providing, they provide. Look, if you look at these things, everywhere it is done. That's what I said. But when the real time for the
you see, when you say everywhere it is done, I agree with you that everywhere it is done, but the services are provided everywhere. Do you think my old lady that selling? I come here. You expect my old lady that's selling way in Butuo to pay for fire service fees, and then fire truck can go there, no rules to go to those places, and you expect her to pay for fire service fees? So okay, let's be serious. Let's be serious sometime when we're discussing the issue. Let's be real. Discuss the issue. You see, even in Monrovia, the government cannot even go across. Sometimes when you call the fire services, they are down. Not because you support this government.
So do you know that, Gian, do you know that the reason why fire service don't even reach to some of these locations is because they are on the alleyway? I think it's a long discussion. The first thing is
I'm not speaking of only Monrovia. Let's go in Butuo.
I'm just saying
how many fire stations you got in Nima? Nima, for example. How many fire
you got one in Ganto?
Do you have a fire station in
Ganto right now?
Do you have it in Bam? Do you have it in Second here?
I mean,
you get one in Ganto. I agree.
That's everyone question. That question it goes to everyone. Look, Gian, one thing we need to understand today, like we always say, is that change will not come in the middle of the night. It will come gradually. How will the change come? How will the change come? The issue of decentralization, I agree with you, is one of our problems. It's not only unique to this government or the past government. So how will we achieve that, Gino? How will we achieve
I think, okay, great. If you ask me for my recommendation to this government, they have to put in a mechanism first before imposing the restriction on people. Now, there is no mechanism. You know what coming happen now when people pay for those fees? They expect the services to be offered to them.
Yeah, but it is.
Why would you be lying? Yes, sorry to say. I beg you. The people in Camp Play, how do they see the fire truck? Do they
But
even have a fire station in Kample? Do they have
Gino,
it in Mutuo? Do they have it in Bieratuo? Do they see how it is?
how do
Some
you have fire truck when you are against taxation?
no, this one is not
Very new
tax. Oh. This
generation.
one is certificate fees. They say you pay and then we issue you a certificate, which I know in other countries you do that. But those countries, the services are provided to the people.
So how?
You got
But
a
Gino, you're not
certificate.
answering my question. I did put a hypothetical question, though it was not meant to answer. But I think in your deliberation you can have that in your closing. But what I want you to understand today is that even the fire service, we should not discredit them to all levels. The first thing is they don't even have that regulatory support. So how
And
do they get
discredit them
there?
to all levels. See how it is. The fire service has
That's
been doing absolutely nothing in
so
Liberia.
that's so
You know,
that's your
all the houses that have been burning, it shows that they have been doing nothing.
so Gian, that's your opinion. But what I always say is that everything in Liberia, people play politics, right? To just conclude on this note, go to Morovia today. The number of houses is Liberia actually Zoom? Morovia, is it actually Zoom? It's not Zoom. So people who even build on the other way is one of the challenges the firefighters got right now. I bet you in Central Morovia, call fire service and say go up maybe Nipo Street or Nelson Street to see whether they will enter from between a house to enter. So those are some of the concerns. If you build on the other way, if you build on the other way, how do such a vehicle enter to perform? So if you, at the end of the day you see public work doing these things, it's strange to people. It's very strange. It's very strange to people. So all these things, we as citizens, it also have a deeper, reflection on us on how to handle this situation. But everything we do it only because of government. The greater responsibility is also on us. Somebody will be building, they can't post zoning lawyer, the person will continue. Sometimes even if government don't come to say, oh, you have to do this, they will continue that work. In the future, when they tell them to leave the place, they start to protest. Is that how you run a country? Even we as citizens, we don't abide by the law. That's one. So when people,
I agree with you, Zawate.
so you don't discredit fire service because they don't reach to this house. What happened?
No,
I think it was I come in, let me learn on this. It was I think Fiamma or Fama where the old lady lost of 4 grandchildren. What happened? Fire service was on time. But how would they enter? The entire alleyway is black. All the houses are jammed together. And once you see that, most of these things run those houses and things with no, road leading to those places. How would the car enter? So at the end of the day, the people become the victim. So all these things, it require a reform, it require discussion. Ministry of Public Works, even the government need to take a very stringent measure to see how they can put this situation under control. I'm not speaking politics, I'm speaking of what is happening. So fire service, we understand the challenges. They will work on their own plan, but when it comes to that, that's the challenge they are facing.
I agree with you, Siawete. But for me, I'm taking the discussion from Monrovia and I want to bring it to other counties aside Monrovia. In Monrovia, a lot of things will happen. A lot can happen, and we expect even the fire service or other entities to work more accurately and fluently in Monrovia because they are situated. But let's take Nima, for example. I don't know whether the government ever provided fire truck to Nima. The fire truck that I know of in Nima was donated by Mr. Flosset Toma. And you know what? For that truck to go to some other places in the county is difficult because of road. I remember one time the truck was in Sanikole, and they called that there was a fire incident in Ganta. Before the truck will arrive in Ganta, the fire have already destroyed those things. And citizens started to throw out the truck while the truck went late. So an entire county like Nima having only one fire truck. And even some may say, oh, we having a truck, but how can we use them? Because of road connectivity. We don't have roads. How do we use them? And then the argument will be in Monrovia, there are fire trucks everywhere, but the alleyway are closed. Yes, But the other counties that alleyway are not closed. Where are the roads? Where are the roads to carry these trucks to them? If somebody called from all the way in Buto that we have a fire incident, the fire station that we know for the county is in Sanikole. When will the truck leave from Sanikole to go Buto? Or when will the truck leave from Sanikole to go Tapeta? These are situations that I think the government should have worked on them first before imposing fees on people. You can't tell people to pay for service because this is directly paying for the service now. You can't pay for the service, then you're not offering the service to the people. That would be like you're stealing from them. And then the one that has to do with content creators, paying certain fees and all of those things. Thankfully, the government put a halt to that thing. Somebody buy their own $1 scratch card. You're not even LTE is not regulating the telecommunication GSM companies in the country. Those people are exploiting from the Liberian people. I have not seen any other country in Africa that the way we are charged with data in our country. I have not seen it. Everything you've been here in Rwanda, you know how data is. You know how things are. Wi-Fi is a strange thing to many of our people there. Wi-Fi is strange. Very strange to us. I saw recently LTE were posting that they carry, how do you call it, Starlink at the Solomon port of entry. Come on. Starlink, and you start to make news of that? Anyways, let me stop here. Ambassador, take us home, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you for the show. Thank you to my dear friend Siawete. I know he tried to make a point, and I know it's a difficult thing. He will try to defend the government. I'm not sure. I know it's sometimes tough for them, but this is the issue, right? This is the point I want to make. Firstly, I will start from our guest. He spoke lengthily. I followed the last 15 minutes of a presentation, and I hope like government will listen because this government, I think CLT can put it regularly, or maybe he can provide information. I don't know when last the government ever listened to advice that people have been giving to them, because people who have been speaking on issues that concern Tier 1, the rest of those people, those pieces of advice given to this government, they don't listen. The Supreme Court ruling is an example. It's a clear manifestation that the government listens to advice. And Mr. Bema will try his best. He will speak out, but the government will not listen. The government look at Toto. Even Toto can move. So anything he says, they will not listen because they think that he's in opposition or they think he's critical. But to the Liberian tracing, whatsoever they call them, it's so unfortunate. And I believe that the government has lost focus. I think the government, there's no way to get money now outside of them to stream our people to get resources for them. This is the issue. I know my brother, my good friend, Siawete and I live in the Western world. I don't know where in America here that content creators pay money. Maybe having other African countries. I said to reach the Western king of our own phone was still there. Last night, the news president. I've done research on 17 countries in Africa. Right now, they have no answer where content creators paying money for lessons. Today, Liberian government, people will say there's a service we pay. We not be freezing our people not to pay tax. We support it. But it should be the rightful way, a rightful institution. And besides the system we have in Liberia, it benefits officials. Now they're really beyond the rule. You spend money, the money will take put it behind things to benefit Liberian people. You talk about the fire service. I live in North Dakota, Fargo. There's someone said that Monrovia is bigger than. There's someone said that has over 50 plus fire service truck. Go on internet and browse, you see it. Every subcommittee has less than 5 truck packet. In Liberia, those cities, major cities that we have, no fire service job. Look at Ganta. It's a commercial area. Ghana should has not less than 2 such station with fire services or cars parking. The 3 personnel.
When you realize that,
That's what they told us when they brought us to do the raffle team. And you're messing it up.
when you realize that,
That one Liberian people took us from there and they brought you guys in the picture. We are doing West more than we do. That's the argument. Today in Liberia, under your regime, we had a Hajia fire incident every history of Liberia. That's a part of record. It's out there. And under your regime, fire killed with the Hajia number incident in Liberia more than any other institution or any other government in Liberia. Your regime. Yeah, you want to lead a blame on, there's no, it's alleged, no. Because we have on 3 personnel. We're going to fire service institution. The police has it. That's it. I can't share with you. Today, for my mother house interpreter, people went to tell you, I bought fire extinguisher for our own. To be there to save God up because don't depend on fire service. If you have an interpreter, when the call floor to my church was standing to drive a 4 hour to interpreter bonita Benny Boy. So what the government should have done is using money to remove speaker illegally spending close to $1 million plus. They could have taken that money to buy fire truck for those very major cities. But your government don't do that. They focus on things that will not benefit Liberian
but you're
people.
speaking without facts. What?
That's a fact. That's a fact. The money they spend to remove Fonanti.
Which
But said
money?
it out there. The $1 million spent to remove Fonanti. So the issue is here. I know you want to defend the government. President Bwaka was he was forced to do what he did today because the problem latches he received. He was aware that release that came out.
We have how many left, brother?
Yeah, so Bwaka was aware of no tariff that came out. They went in cabinet meeting. The advisor were aware. The reason he came out to us today because the problem largely received on media and Liberian people. He was forced to call that back. But he was aware. So the government should go beyond to do research on Uganda. They should go do research on Botswana, Namibia, Kenya, West Africa, and Ghana. How they kidnap but the police sector. They don't get violent spirit, but you go tell people who have no knowledge.
That debate you opening or
The only thing they know is politics. They have no knowledge on those institutions they're operating on. At the end of the day, you will see what we are experiencing today in Liberia. Again, 17. Final point. President Bwaka should leave his political jacket and go beyond and do the better for Liberian people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you, Siawite. Thank you guys for being here tonight. It's been a wonderful conversation. See you guys tomorrow.
Thank you. Good night.